See if you can tell the difference between this and what you might see on Chinese state television.
The president referred to the coronavirus as a, quote, foreign virus. And I think it's going to it's going to come across to a lot of Americans as smacking of xenophobia.
Xenophobic wartime Trump, where he thinks the only path now is to basically declare the virus public enemy number one, paint it in somewhat racist terms.
The xenophobia and the racism in outbreak is such a common thing, and it is incredibly dangerous. It is problematic, and it is scary, and I just really want to call that out.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all. No, not at all. It comes from China. That's why.
So as this virus emerged from central China to kill Americans in huge numbers and people throughout the West, news organizations in this country made the same aggressively pro-China noises.
Want to get it off your chest? You're in the right place. They accuse this show of being run by boobs. Well, let me tell you something about us boobs. We're real and we're spectacular. Want politics and fun, sprinkled with a lot of laughs? Heard in every state in the Union and 770 cities around the world. We just put 12 years of broadcast excellence into the can. Now in our 13th year, the Dave Weinbaum Show is streaming live all over the world. While watching the wretched, rabid, anti-American attacks on Jews, Christians, whites, the racist Dems are in heated battles with milder anti-Americanists as to how to effectively end the greatest country that ever existed. Why? They want to ape the successes of Venezuela, North Korea, the Chinese Communist Party, Cuba, Russia. Our Constitution is wounded. Our Supreme Court is scared. Our borders are gone. And our own President Biden is the biggest COVID spreader in chief. You want more entertainment? The governor of New York State thinks he'll just ignore the 11 women who have provable cases of sexual harassment against him. After all, he just unburdened New York State from having to take care of the 15,000 seniors he so cleverly had killed by infesting their abodes with COVID-19 positive New Yorkers. And he did it just despite them of President Trump's gift of a vacant, huge hospital ship to house them in. This Cuomo-sexual mass killer and Biden, the spreader-in-chief, should be jailed. Then there's the racist hypocrites like AOL, Maxine Waters, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and the new star of the racist United Pigs, Cori Bush. If you ever need a clip of a black woman burying her fellow blacks, just listen to her screed, where she defends her right to pay $70,000 to defend herself with private cops, while in the same breath demanding the defunding of police for her own black community in St. Louis. We're sliding real quick into the toilet of communism. We have an uphill battle to get our country back. Those who fail to shepherd the herd tend to want to barbecue it. Hi there, welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. My name is Dave Weinbaum. I'm here with, wife legend, I should say. Not just a legend, but my wife legend. Because I think it's, really good, our marriage so far. Am I wrong?
So I got a new title today, huh?
Yeah, the wife legend.
I'm already a legend?
Yeah, you're a legend amongst all the others.
Wait a minute.
Well, no,
you didn't have to add that last part, Dave.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to outlast
I don't know how to be. I'm not very sensitive, am I?
No.
Anyways, it's
like
Lisa Ann Weinbaum, the law. She's here. She went to the doctor. I didn't even know if she would show up. I was very grateful to see her.
Of course.
Because I love her, and all those other nice things that I don't want to talk about now on the air.
And
we have our producer here, Rick Henderson. Hi, Rick.
Good morning, everyone.
Rick is starving himself for the next 4 days. He has his own. Doctor kind of weird way of handling life, and it seems it's working. So he is a man of very few habits that you could correlate with anything else in the world. He's unique. I tried to be unique one time, but everyone else beat me to it. And then we have our senior producer, JP Maxwell. Hi, JP.
Hi,
how you
good
doing?
morning, everybody.
Give yourselves a round of applause because that's probably the last one you're going to get today. And I don't have any idea who's on the phone, if anybody, but just in case, please play this man's song.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big
man someday. Mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will rock you. We will rock you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a man who has achieved living 253 years. It's unbelievable. He's the oldest man by far in the world. He goes back to the days when they used to say people live to be 900. Well, he's on his way. And he's got all this history and this knowledge and this wisdom, and it's all bashed into and under this tinfoil hat he wears. So please welcome the sage from Rolla, J.J. Bradshaw. Oh, my. They love you today. Hey, J.J., what's under that tinfoil hat of yours?
Dave, your intros for me just keep getting more inflated. I don't know how I'll ever be able to live up to it.
I might have to cut it because of the time.
You're killing me here, pal.
I meant every word of it.
I'd like to speak to the easy for me to say, politicization.
Yes.
Of so many of our institutions. The latest is the CDC. Now,
yeah.
If you look back, Obama weaponized DOJ. He weaponized our intelligence community. He weaponized most everything that he got his Marxist fingers on. But at least during the Obama era, he hadn't managed to get to the CDC, at least not that any of us who watch could notice. Biden's bunch has managed to do that. Our CDC has now been polluted by the leftist politics. And here's what I think about that. The CDC of late is suggesting masks for everyone, whether you've been vaccinated or not. Now, you can argue that masks are not very effective or they are very effective. Dr. Michael Osterholm, who was Biden's top medical advisor till he quit, said that he recommends N95 masks for all, but with the caveat that they're useful and effective only in a surgical suite, not so much for the man on the street. Well, the CDC traditionally has been apolitical. These are a bunch of doctors. Admittedly, some are administrators. We won't argue the politics of that. But Biden's CDC is choosing to ignore the science. It appears to me that vaccination is likely the way to conquer this thing. And of course, the CDC is urging vaccination for every adult. But look at Missouri. Missouri has a large unvaccinated population, in particular here in Phelps County. And if you look at the folks that are in the hospital with COVID that are in serious condition, most are unvaccinated. So it appears, at least to me, that the vaccination works. The fact that Biden's CDC has waffled on this thing back and forth in the last month or two concerns me greatly. That tells me that the science is no longer in charge, that the politics is very much in charge. That's all I'll say about that.
Let me
Biden's
make a couple of
has
points.
ruined that as well.
I think you're giving Biden too much credit. I think the CDC having this kind of power was a step that he wanted done in his administration. He wanted total control of all the agencies of America. He had two militias in his original Obamacare bill papers, and then they suddenly disappeared. And these militias were inside America at total use of the President of the United States, who happened to be, Barack Obama at the time.
Yeah. The brown shirts.
Someone saw it and said, you can't do this. And I don't know if anyone else had saw this. I don't think I was dreaming it either. But then I looked weeks later, and it wasn't there. All right? So he's really – I feel that he has a lot of input into this. This is his third term. In my opinion, that's the way he looks at it. And this is time to close the deal. What you're seeing is a move out of desperation, because if it gets out what they really did to win this election, the game is over for them. So they got to end the game right now. You couldn't imagine this stuff happening like it had just about 8 months ago. You can't even imagine it.
Dave, part of their built-in problem is Kamala Harris. If you consider bumbling Joe, it's not going to be very long before they have to yank the strings on him. He's fading quickly.
Yeah.
And they're not able to hide it. It's obvious to anyone. You only have to listen to the guy for a couple of minutes and you recognize that he's seriously demented, and you can't have that for a president. So what are we going to be stuck with? Well, we're going to be stuck with Kamala Harris.
What if she resigns?
She's not going to resign.
How do you
There's
know?
not a chance in the world for that.
How do you know that isn't cooked into the deal? And then who do we get as president?
Well, Nancy Pelosi.
There you go.
The fact is, Kamala Harris has been a person who has sought power since she was a very young woman, and has managed to get it done, probably by sleeping around. God knows what other things she might have done.
Well, it wasn't probably. She admitted to it.
Well, let's not go there, because actually the thought of sex with Kamala Harris makes me want to throw up. Okay. This woman, she had a 57% approval rating when she was sworn in. Here we are about a year later, she's at 44%, and it's sinking so fast. Why? Well, because she's an obnoxious woman to begin with. She's smug. She has that chicken house cackle. But mainly, she was assigned the border crisis.
Yeah.
Take care of this. And she has done nothing. In fact, she has made it worse.
And in fact, she's been removed from that position, hasn't she?
Say that again, please.
She's been removed from that position by Biden himself.
Well, she had to be, because she was doing nothing.
Yeah. Right now, we're in the middle of, you're right, the polls are way off for her, and you got to take another 15 points off of that, because these polls are made by liberals. All right?
Yeah, they're rigged.
They're the same ones that had Donald Trump losing by 100% on November the 8th, 2016. 100% election day. They had him losing by, there's no chance. And through half the day it was like that until we got the real results in. So the polls right now are so they're really ambivalent in that you got to estimate them at about 15% lower, which means that Biden is at about 30 to 35%, and Kamala is probably in the 20s. Nobody likes these people. The Democrats can't. The Democrats hate these people because they're failing. The problem is they're getting more and more power, and they're getting more and more evil-gotten power because of the positions they're in and the things they control, like, well, the CDC. Now, you mentioned vaccines. Now, do you realize that the most fervent constituents of the Democratic Party, who would you say is that?
Oh, I couldn't begin to tell you, Dave. There's
I would say over the years it would be blacks. Now the blacks,
well, not so much.
Well, as a group, I would say they have been very loyal to the Democratic Party until Trump came. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
and there was a fissure. But just go with me for a minute. Go with me for a minute. Let me say this.
Okay.
2/3 of blacks refuse to get the vaccine. They refuse. Why? Because the government tested them. And it was phony. They tested viruses on them. And a lot of blacks died. They are very suspicious of the government. Sort of like, well, what I am. And so, so the problem is that when they put these vaccine, what do you call that? When you passports in, that you have to show to get into stores, to get into restaurants. We got Jim Crow all over again because the blacks won't do it. Even the black mayor of Boston said, "What the hell is this?" A Democrat. This is worse than anything, right? The blacks are going to have these vaccine passports, and they don't want to get them. There's a little bit of a concern about the effectiveness of these vaccines. A lot of concern. And a lot of people are getting the disease after we said that the vaccine was going to work and that we wouldn't have to do anything else. Now they're taking boosters in Israel. We're going to have to take boosters for the rest of our lives. Now, maybe it's okay, and I pray for those who take it. My wife and I had it, and we should be immune, according to the science. Now we're being demanded, even after we had the disease, that we have to go and get vaccines, or else. This is not America.
The or else is the problem with that. I got no problem with taking a booster. My goodness, Dave, I get a flu shot every year.
You're 253 years old, for God's sake.
The government demands.
You're 253 years old. All right? I could do it. That's probably, wouldn't die immediately. But I had a friend who died immediately, just about, and that was David O'Reilly, my best friend. I've seen people who get the first shot and they get sick. My office manager. All right? And people that I know are close to me, well, I'm thinking that, well, if this is happening like this, then it must be widespread all over the country, and I suspect that it is. I'm not a scientist, but that's just a small sample of it. They had that plane full of Democrats, 20 of them, who they swore up and down all of them were vaccinated. 6 of them come in positive for COVID. What kind of vaccination is that? See where I'm coming from?
I'm coming from where you're coming from, Dave, but I can't completely agree with you.
I don't want
because
you to.
From a statistical standpoint, the reactions to the vaccine are minuscule.
Yeah.
Tiny. Now, if you happen to be the one that gets the reaction and dies, well, that's kind of bad for you. But from a statistical standpoint, this vaccine's pretty safe, and it appears to be effective.
You call me. I want you to call me back during my show
as an individual
in the next 3 years. You'll be 256 years old, all right? And I want you to call me back, and let's see what happens over time with these vaccines that are not approved, by the way, by the Federal Drug Administration. The FDA has not approved them. Why? Do you know?
Well, because the FDA moves rather slowly, Dave. Just
Why?
Like the judicial system does.
Why?
Because they take their due diligence seriously. They have to test this stuff.
They have
so
to
they've
prove
given
it over
emergency
time.
Authorization for this.
This
I
has not
agree
had
with
the
that.
time to prove itself, and there has been other disasters with vaccines. The bird flu in the mid-'70s was a disaster. That vaccine killed a lot of people, killed and crippled a lot of people, and this vaccine is showing the same inclinations. That's all I'm saying. I pray to God that I have a granddaughter that got vaccinated, 20 years old, because she had to get in college. I pray that I'm wrong. Believe me. I just pray a lot about that. But
I pray that you're wrong, too.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, for you, too. Come on. All right. What else you got for me under that tinfoil hat?
Well, Dave, I've outlived my enemies, so I've managed to get that taken care of pretty well. I do have a couple of items on the infrastructure bill that have been sticking in my guts. The GOP has been, of course, throwing amendments at this stinker of a bill in the Senate. And actually, they're just kind of nibbling around the edge of this thing. But I read the executive summary of this. They finally came out with a text on this thing. Now, the text is a moving target. It changes every day. But there's some interesting things hidden in this thing. One of them involves cryptocurrency. Now, I don't do cryptocurrency. I believe in the plain old dollar bill. But cryptocurrency is all done via computer. And via computer, there are all sorts of trails that are left when you make a transaction. In particular, this thing targets brokers. That would be stockbrokers, land brokers, any kind of brokers that that make deals, put deals together between individuals or individual in the stock market. This thing includes surveillance for cryptocurrency transactions, and it puts the onus on the broker to report these transactions. Well, one of the reasons cryptocurrency has become somewhat popular is its anonymity. Even though there are transaction trails, your name doesn't appear in any of them. So this is a way that people can move money around without surveillance. Now the government wants to put surveillance on that. Is that a big onus? Yeah, I think it can be.
Yeah.
That's just one more finger that the government has got in your business. I think that this bill by itself is absolutely awful and should never make it out of the Senate.
Well, they stopped it today. I mean, and they're on vacation. And you know where two of those horribly punished Texas Democrats who flew there on a private jet. They had to get a private jet to fly to Washington, D.C. just so they could stand up for their rights.
You know, it's a shame.
And now where are they now? They're in Portugal on vacation. Okay, they're in Portugal. And
Don't you wish that jet had been hijacked to Cuba?
The Cubans, they'd love it there, wouldn't they? I would think they would.
Yeah,
love it.
apparently.
Yeah,
they speak to that anyway. I don't think they like the poverty and the lack of their freedoms.
All right, my friend, what else you got for me?
These people speak out one side of their mouth and then do other side of their mouth. Dave, it has been my pleasure to speak with you this morning.
Always
Our
great.
conversations are always so good.
I want to thank you once again for being a terrific opening act. And, we don't have to agree on everything. I don't want to agree on everything. I want to argue things out. This is why I like this show. I love this show because I want to hear the arguments, pro and con. I'm always open to the truth. I really want to know the truth. I've got nobody who tells me what to say and what not to say. Well, Lisa does occasionally, but that's another story. All right, but I love to think that if I think that I've made a mistake, I will cop to it. And I make a few, but I've made a few, but not many. I'm sorry. Did you want to speak?
Only on the show does that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Dave, I am happy to argue with you anytime.
There you go.
Agree to disagree, that is
I think
fine with me.
Your performance today was stellar, and I want to hear it from the crowd for J.J. Bradshaw.
God bless you, Dave.
God
Good
bless
day.
you. Have a great weekend. Okay, we got, this is, let me just tell you about the show. We've got a great show. That was John Jeffrey Bradshaw. Always a challenge to talk with a 253-year-old man and to even argue with it's an honor. It's an honor, okay? Rabbi Moshe Rothchild, after his vacation, is calling this morning in about, that's 15 minutes. We got Cheryl Chumley back, the online editor to the Washington Times and star of TV, best-selling author. Got another book coming out. Elad Hakim is coming on soon. He's coming on in, let's say about 10 o'clock, and we got a lot of legal things to talk about. He is now a TV star and a writer, and we've got Jeff Zink. You got to listen to this because this is going to be an update on the Arizona audit. I'm sorry, what are you looking at? Chester? Yes, I know. I'm going to get right to him. I'm sorry. He understands, I hope. Okay, so where was I? Okay, Jeff Zink. He's an expert on the Arizona audit, and he's an eyewitness to the January 6th event. I'm not going to call it an incursion. If the incursion was the election itself, the insurrection, I should say. The insurrection was the election itself. Anyways, hi there. Welcome to the show, Chester. What can I do for you today? Chester, you there? He's not there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. This is Chester from north of Doolittle. I'm hearing every other word from you. But anyway, I just want to add something to a different, slightly different approach on to understand the vaccine issue.
Okay, go ahead.
It has nothing to do with medical vaccine. It is all about power, taking control of the population. If you follow the news the last 2 days, they are looking for new ways. The federal government is looking at new ways to force people to take the vaccine. They are talking about people who are on Medicare, people who are in long-term care medical plans, people who are in all kinds of government programs of any kind. They're talking about using that as leverage. In other words, you don't get your vaccine, you don't get your government benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Absolutely agree with you. And that's where I was going with this. I just like to build the case before I think
exactly.
I said that before.
Also, I'm sorry, by the way, I cannot hear you. I'm going to talk just for a moment.
Okay, is it? Do you think it's a?
I'm not hearing your voice coming through.
Is it your voice? Is it your phone or is it mine?
What's happening also?
Yeah.
Is when you look with things like cryptocurrency, same thing. The government would have complete control of you and your spending. They would know who you're spending with, who you're giving your money to. They would know everything. They will have total control of you, your life, all the money, all the benefits, and you can't even give it to anybody. You will not be able to leave money to your children. You will not be able to buy things that you want to stop somebody like My Pillow guy.
Yeah.
You want to stop somebody like some restaurant chain. All you do is you say their cryptocurrency won't work there. That's how devious it all is.
Oh,
and on that, I will hang up and listen to you over the phone. Bye bye.
All right,
God bless
thank you. Find out if there's any other things that you can't hear me with. Then call me. Somebody let me know. I think we're coming on good. All the indications are like that.
Yeah.
And here we've got a few people. The most loyal crew of people I've got, and the most loyalist of all is Pamela Tanner. Good morning, everyone. Looks like a great lineup. Yes, we go for that every week. John Jeffrey Bradshaw opened up with, great morning. Facebook feed working great. So there's an attestation to that. Chester's phone is screwed up and not us. Butterbread. That's a new guy. That's a new one. MK. What does that mean?
Not sure.
She's a nice person.
Well, that would be
very good person.
That would be NP, wouldn't it?
Well,
nice person, not MK. I don't know what that means. Anyways, Butter, maybe you could tell us.
That's
huh?
her name.
Oh, MK. All right, MK. Thank you. Biden is horrible. Yeah, I agree. I don't understand the same thing. Butterbread, MK. I don't understand why we're letting Biden and his goons get away with destroying our country. Well, me neither. Charles Peterson. That sounds kind of you know what? Sounds familiar. Anyways, listening while working from my son's home in Cape Girardeau. Have a great day, JJ. Yeah, all right. Maybe he knows JJ. William Pfeiffer, yet another day with the remedial party in fetal position. What's the remedial party? Is that us, the Republicans, I guess?
No.
That's
slow.
Talking about the Dems.
Slow.
Fetal position? I don't know. They seem to be striking hard pretty good.
They'll be in the fetal position soon enough, hopefully.
And Pfeiffer, Butterbread MK, because we have no second party. That's why he's answering her. Okay. Well, I think he is taking off on
we all
Republicans.
wonder that, you know.
We all the official pastor to the Dave Weinbaum Show, and
the official mom to the senior producer,
which does not mean that she's an older person. She's a very young woman. Patricia Odin Maxwell. I totally agree with you, Dave, about the vaccination deal. It is not safe. I pray for those who took it too. No, that's where I'm at. All right, where am I at now? Pamela Tanner, your option to refuse is based on federal law. And I'm going to ask, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask Hakim, Elad Hakim, whether or not we are subject to the Nuremberg Code. That should be interesting. He's talking about all these court cases that are going to the Supreme Court, and they're saying that local governments can enact this. Local governments, not the federal government. But here it is. Your option, Pam Tanner, your option to refuse is based on federal law EUAs. No one has the right to mandate an EUA-approved vaccine, not even an employer. All right, well. Okay, Charles Peterson. Thanks, JJ. You're always a joy to listen to, isn't he? God, I cherish the guy. Pam Tanner, there is potential liability on employers or universities that mandate vaccines if an employee or student suffers any side effects or death from a mandatory EUA vaccine. A liability form can be found on Sidney Powell's website, Defending the Republic. Okay, we're going to stop here. This is great. I'm getting a great response, and I do appreciate that. Well, I say right now, you know, we need to lighten up. The rabbi's coming on pretty soon. We're not going to do a commercial just yet, but I think we ought to hear from Kramer. This is from the Seinfeld show, so.
Yeah, and this one here, when we listened to it yesterday, this one...
You got to wait till the end.
Yeah, it probably made me laugh the most that I've laughed in quite a while at one of these Seinfeld bits. So, and actually, I'm having trouble finding it. Hold on 1 second.
Really?
You're acting like Kramer.
Well, here he is.
On the bus. I told the driver, I got a tow here, buddy. Step on it. Holy cow! Yeah. Then, all of a sudden, this guy pulls out a gun. Well, I knew any delay's going to cost her pinky toe, so I got out of the seat and I started walking towards him. He says, "Where do you think you're going, Cracker Jack?" I says, "Well, I got a little prize for you, buddy." Knocked him out cold.
How could you do that?
Yeah, then everybody is screaming because the driver, he's passed out because of all the commotion. The bus is out of control. So I grab him by the collar, I take him out of the seat, I get behind the wheel, now I'm driving the bus.
You're Batman.
Yeah, I am Batman. Then the mugger, he comes to and he starts choking me. So I'm fighting him off with one hand, and I kept driving the bus with the other, you know? Then I managed to open up the door, and I kicked him out the door, you know, with my foot, you know, at the next stop.
You kept making all the stops?
Well, people kept ringing the bell.
Yeah, it took a while, but my gosh. He kept making the stops. All right. He's got a guy mugging him with a gun who he's beating up. He's throwing him out the door, and he's still making those stops.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hey, come on. That's funny stuff. I don't care who you are, you know. Anyway, I think, yeah, maybe we got time. We got Rabbi coming on in 5 minutes. He wasn't on. He was on vacation. How do you take a vacation from this show? I guess we've done it to get married, did we? Or didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, you took a day off or two for that.
Right. Yeah, I did. I've only taken a couple
just
shows
one
off
show.
in the last 13 years.
The marriage only rated one show off, you know.
What was the second time I was off? I don't know. Anyways, we're not going to talk. Oh, no, we don't want to go there, do we? Stop it. No, it was the trip to Israel we took. It was both of the times it was your fault.
Ooh,
Anyways,
once every 5-6 years.
Yeah, and that was with the rabbi. We had a
was.
tour from the rabbi. All right. So, okay, well, let's do a break right now. I said we weren't going to do a break, but I was misestimating the time. We got plenty of time for it. And then we're going to hear from the rabbi. Hit it.
Honey, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're filling up a swimming pool.
Yep, I'm filling up a swimming pool.
In our living room?
How else am I going to watch the game and stay cool?
If your AC is on the fritz, call Hartley's Climate Control. Hartley's is the area's best in HVAC repairs, installs, and maintenance. Knowledgeable, honest, and dependable. Serving Rolla and the surrounding areas for commercial or residential needs. Hartley's Climate Control. Community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Kent is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Kent's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping, too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate. At your locally owned Price Chopper, our standards are high because we know yours are. See for yourself what an incredible fresh selection of grocery items we have in store. Talk to our expert meat associates about what you're looking for. They're happy to meet any special requests like custom cuts, or see our expert produce associates on how to pick out the best fruits and vegetables. Quality in the deli means fresh, full flavor, and always delicious. If you're craving fresh, baked goodness, we have that too. You can expect the best selection and the best value while interacting with our friendly and knowledgeable employees. You can find what you're looking for fast and easily at the best prices at Price Chopper. Fresh savings every day.
At Town & Country Bank, we've got all the perks of a national bank, like online banking, quick loan approval, and you can deposit your check from your phone. But that's not why our customers love us. They love us because we still offer hometown customer service. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly team remind you how special hometown banking can be. We're locally owned and will take the time to understand your needs. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right. We have our next guest. I think we're going to play his song. So why don't you hit that? Thank you.
Yeah, 1 second, Dave. You were talking to another rabbi? Sounds like you're cheating on me.
No, actually, I'm cheating with you on him because he was the first rabbi. Listen to this. I got rabbis fighting over me. This is kind of weird.
Ladies and gentlemen, the most powerful man in Israel now that Netanyahu is no longer leading it, but only second in command at his own home, according to his wife, Unique. Aligns Christians, Jews, and Muslims around the world. Future rabbi to the Trump Third Temple Hotel, Golf Course, Casino, and Spa. And the official rabbi to Missouri and the Dave Weinbaum Show. Please welcome all the way from Efrat, Israel, Rabbi Moshe Rothchild. They heard that in Egypt. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. Are you back in Israel? I took the shot there.
I am. Yeah, I got back Wednesday. Yeah,
okay,
we're back
good.
Here. Bit jet lagged, but I'm here.
Okay. You're still jet lagged?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Either that or there's a very, very annoying pause, sort of like what they do on these Zoom calls, you know? Anyways, Israel is calling for the world to sanction Iran due to its latest drone attacks on Israel from the link to the Mercer Street ship. You're familiar with that, right? So what's going to happen there?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we do know that at least 3 countries, England, the United States, and Russia, have tacitly given Israel the go-ahead to retaliate in whatever way that Israel sees fit for this, attack, unprovoked attack on an Israeli ship. So we're, everyone's just waiting to see what happens with that.
Now, which countries exactly are they asking?
I saw it was the United States, Great Britain, and Russia.
Okay. And nothing's come back yet?
Nothing's come back yet, and there's this wink, kind of tacit approval saying, "Go ahead, do what you got to do."
Yeah, which they can later claim. Well, we never really gave them permission, and just dump on Israel like the UN is gonna.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the way the game is played, obviously. So, but Israel according to Bennett, we're going to do what we got to do to protect ourselves, which is what he should be saying, I guess. Yeah. So there are more rockets fired. There are more rockets fired from Lebanon, which we probably realize is Hezbollah, but really is Iran as well.
Right.
That's more reason to strike back for Israel. So Iran is sort of like doing this. It seems like they want a war with Israel. Doesn't it seem that way to you?
Yeah. In case your listeners don't know, and it happened today again. Last night here in Israel, a few rockets were fired. There were 10 more fired today from the north, from Lebanon.
Yeah.
Just to give your listeners context, Gaza, which is Hamas, is in the south. Hezbollah is stationed or based in Lebanon, which is our northern border. So this is a totally different geography,
right?
Different terrorist group. Hezbollah and Hamas do not get along, but they're both backed by Iran. And Hezbollah is testing Israel, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I definitely think it is connected. You're right, Dave, to Iran And it's definitely connected to what happened with the ship, and it definitely is connected to Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons. All of it is, and these are not separate narratives. They're all connected to Iran.
So, but Iran can control, interestingly enough, those two entities, Hezbollah and what's the other one again?
Yeah.
Hezbollah and the guys in Gaza, Hamas. They can control them.
Yeah.
Without them getting along at all.
Yeah, they can.
That's pretty interesting, and it's a very it's a very shocking thing to think about, because that adds to the, even if they hate each other, they're both going to do the bidding of Iran. So they got to be dealt with. At the end of the day,
yeah. At the end of the day, these are terrorist organizations, and they need money to operate.
Yeah.
Without money, they can't operate. So Iran is providing the funding. Right. Now, I gave you a book a few years ago, which you didn't read and you gave back to me, but I read it, called Harpoon, which is about Israel starting to attack the money sources and following the money to try to stop terrorism through basically following the money.
I did read parts of the book, yes.
Israel has had a lot of success.
Thanks for calling me ignorant in front of my whole audience.
Poor Dave.
It was great. I didn't have to buy the book.
Don't make me come out there. You're gonna have fourth front for me. How's that?
It was the best gift I ever gave someone.
Yeah, you got it back, you schmuck. What the hell's the matter with you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what I should buy you next.
But I did look through the book, and I did pick out some of that. I did read some of it. God, did you just break something?
Yeah. I didn't. My wife did.
Talk about ratting somebody out. I thought you got married again. I swear. I'm thinking, wow. Is he tired because he's getting married again, or what? Gee. Well, congratulations on your marriage. I'm sure
that's what they say.
I hope it's as wonderful as the last one. Let's put it this way. Where are we going with this?
Yeah,
all right. Anyways, I understand what you're saying. That they're going after the money. Now, has that stopped because of the different situation in the U.S.?
Right. So that's a big problem when the U.S. starts to send money back to the UNRWA, and they send money to Abbas, and they send it's all going to the same place. That money is being used to fund terror, and they say, oh, we're only sending it for human right, for aid for pharmaceutical needs. It's baloney. It all gets funneled into terror. That's why these countries are bankrupt, because they don't use the money to build economies or use the money to feed their citizens. They use the money to funnel it to terror organizations because they care more about trying to destroy Israel than their own citizens, and that's the reality.
Okay, give us. Let's move this out to some ice cream diplomacy. Update on Unilever, Ben and Jerry's, as Florida threatens them for anti-Israel boycott. Okay, so if we boycott them, we're going to boycott Ben and Jerry's, right? So isn't that what other people are doing to Israel? They're boycotting Israel.
Well, right. So the problem with the boycott movement against Israel is that they're not arguing about morality and justice. It's anti-Semitic. So, for example, Ben and Jerry's sells ice cream in some of the most oppressive regimes in the world that violate human rights, like Jordan and Turkey and Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth, yet they single Israel out for a boycott. That is what's called anti-Semitism.
Okay.
It is, as if Ben and Jerry said, we are not selling ice cream outside of the United States because we think, every country needs to improve their human rights, that's one thing. But when they single Israel out from all the nations of the world, that is exactly what's called anti-Semitism.
So they're not boycotting any other country then, other than Israel. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And that is exactly why it has raised tremendous anxiety or anger here, and both from the left and the right, because it's not about the ice cream. It's about Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. It's anti-Semitic rhetoric.
Okay, I get it. Hey, Israel adds the USA to a list of high-risk destinations. Are you aware of this? And I was a little worried about you getting back in. Did you have to show them your passport?
Yes.
That you were vaccinated in Israel?
Well, it's taking effect Wednesday of next week. So I wasn't affected by that. But starting next week, anyone who returns from the United States will have to quarantine for a week, even if they've been vaccinated. Till now, it's been that if you come back and you took a test, you get a response within a half a day, and then you're fine.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't matter. 7 days starting Wednesday, because this Delta variant has thrown a loop to this whole thing.
Yeah, well, it's thrown a loop into the credibility of the whole thing, don't you think? You take the vaccine, you don't have to do anything else, you're fine. You won't get it. That's what the guarantee was. You don't have to wear a mask anymore. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. I mean, it seems to me it's a big failure, and you can't trust them.
How
do you? When did Jews become so trusting after what they went through?
Well, I think we see this a little bit differently, because what it seems to be is the statistics are that those who are vaccinated are not dying from the Delta variant, but those who there was an article in the newspaper here, is that it protects people like similar to the flu shot. If you look at the statistics in the flu shot, it protects maybe 50%, but the people who get it and had the flu shot get far more mild symptoms. The statistics on the coronavirus vaccine is no different than the chickenpox. I looked it up. The chickenpox vaccine has almost the same statistics of people who were vaccinated with the chickenpox vaccine still getting the chickenpox. The difference is that each person is vaccinated, when they get the chickenpox or they get corona, they are not nearly at risk as those who were not. And,
I'm going to ask
people start to say, 50% of the people who get it were vaccinated. Just they don't understand the math. I can explain it very, very simply.
Well, here, explain this to me, Rabbi. Explain this to me then.
You want me to explain it?
Well, explain this. Why does the FDA not approve the vaccines?
It's about to in August. It's about to approve it. It will no longer be considered experimental. I just read that in about 2-3 weeks. It's going to be fully approved.
Okay. All right.
Of course, people are going to say, well, that's all political. They're only approving it because people are, I just, like I told you a few weeks ago, I do whatever my doctor tells me. There's so much out there, and I got to follow one guy, whatever my doctor tells me, that's what I do.
After watching people like Dr. Fauci, too, huh? The worst thing that ever...
Fauci's not my doctor.
The worst thing my doctor told me when I asked him about Fauci about a year and a half ago, I says, this guy recommended no masks and now and that we could have travel from China? He says, I know Dr. Fauci, he's great. You might as well have said to me, he is science. And he's full of it. Okay, I still love my doctor. He's a nice Jewish boy, nice Jewish doctor. But I think he got his... Mm-hmm. We don't mention him anymore. I don't want to talk about it. He doesn't either. So
I want to change the topic for a second,
ahead.
Dave. I got to tell you something because I know we're going to run out of time.
Yes.
Last week when I was in the United States, I went to Washington, D.C., and I met with a congressman who I had guided here in Israel. He was not a congressman when I guided him. He was a Kansas state treasurer, but he was running for Congress, and he won. So he's a congressman from Kansas. I went to see him. I'm going to send you the picture of it.
Okay.
Of me and him and my wife.
Yeah.
Right outside his office. Now, right outside in the halls of the office building of Congress, he has a picture. It says, "I stand with Israel."
Yeah.
A beautiful sign on the wall. And what he told me, which is so fascinating, you know who his neighbor is? Right next to him, the office right next to him, is Rashida Tlaib. Which means that every day she has to walk past that sign.
Explain who Rashida Tlaib is.
Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are the main founders of the squad, anti-Israel, anti-American, and so he has
virulent anti-Semites.
He's got to walk past it every.
Terrific.
To stand with Israel. I
love the guy already. What's
right
his name?
To his name. I'll send you the picture of it.
In other words, you forgot his name. All right.
And my wife.
Okay.
Anyhow, that's
and
the
by the way, in another thing, there's a pro-Israel Democrat who beats the AOC and Bernie endorsed Democratic for Congress in Ohio. I forget her name too, so we're even. Hey, other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and contribute?
They can go to my website, IsraelAlliance.org, or they can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/IsraelAlliance.org.
You know, Rabbi, while Lisa was preparing to smoke a turkey, I heard her yell out, "Where's that darn sage?" I said, "I'm in the living room, sitting on the couch."
I thought I didn't know you can. I know you could smoke cigarettes. I didn't know you could smoke a turkey.
Well, you need some big papers for it, though. You need some really big papers for that. Okay.
You need a lot of rolling paper for that.
Well, thanks for not laughing, but thanks for the lead in for the other joke. All right, my friend. Shabbat shalom to Heidi Yonit and the kids, and I'm glad you got back safely.
I'm glad you made it home safely.
Yeah. And I promise to read at least more than I read of the last book that you gave me. So, thanks.
That's funny.
Thanks for throwing me under the bus, my friend.
Dave, next time I come, I'm going to bring you a new set of drinking glasses.
Okay.
But I need it back because my wife just broke one.
Yeah, I can tell. Anyways, mazel tov on your last wedding, which was apparently minutes ago. Okay. All right, see ya.
Yeah. All right, take care.
Bye. Okay. You get a couple of Jews together that are a little comedic, and you can do a lot of shtick.
That was some good banter right there. That was
absolutely
fun.
And by the way, I think that's pretty funny. He was a little slow because he's got jet lag. You know what you need to make sure if you're doing stand-up comedy, you can't do it with people that have flown for the last 12 hours.
Right.
They won't get anything.
Nope.
Okay? That's pretty
good.
And
that was the problem.
Here's the truth of her and me was that she did say it. She says, "Where's the sage?" And I was in the living room. I yelled out. I says, "I'm sitting right here on the couch." Now, come on. You telling me that ain't funny?
Yeah, just didn't do that one. It just didn't do anything for me, sorry.
But
we do have more comments on Facebook.
Are you marking it off?
Let's look at them. Charles Peterson. Why did the U.S. Air Force practice landing 4 A-10 Warthogs on a state highway in Michigan a couple days ago? First time ever Air Force intentionally used highway to land aircraft. That's a good question. You got an answer to that, Rick, without going completely crazy?
I don't have an answer to that, but I do know that yesterday train loads of military equipment were headed west. I don't know why or anything about it, but lots and lots of military equipment going west.
Yeah, so is there something happening in this country? I don't know. Good question. Pamela, can we even trust Ben & Jerry's to not put harmful ingredients in their product to further weaken and destroy the health of ice cream-loving people around the world? I don't know. It's a little far out, but it's possible. Hi there. Welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Chester again from north of Doolittle.
Yes. Hi there.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah. What happened? Was that your phone?
It's at my end. It's my phone.
Okay.
My phone line had a bad connection. Anyway, as far as the A-10 landing,
Yes.
That's just the standard thing that the Army Air Force always likes to talk about, capability in case of runways ever being damaged, that they can take off and land on roads. When I was in Germany, stationed there in 1979, they landed a C-130, the big cargo airplane, four propeller engines. They landed one of those on the Autobahn. Made a big political spectacle out of it, the fact that they can land it on a highway and take off.
But this was like the first time it's ever happened in U.S. history.
Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, it just, somebody finally decides to do it. It's all for show, by the way. It doesn't prove a darn thing. The one in C that they did in Germany was really just a big political, just for the news media. You would never actually do it in real life anyway, because once you land it, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you got to take it off again, and then you kill all the traffic for a couple of days.
Well, you had to kill the traffic hours in advance. You had to check the roadway.
Yeah.
You had to. There's no ground support.
I wonder if they tow him off. Do they tow him off?
No. He took off.
He took off, did he? All right.
They picked a very long stretch of straight road, and they were able to do it.
Well, I think it's noteworthy in that it just never happened in this country before.
Yeah,
don't you?
They're just showing off. They got somebody say, "Hey, let's do this." It'd be a good political thing to do. Show how powerful Biden is, because
Thanks for the information. I appreciate that.
Yeah, like I said, it's been done. It's been done.
Well, let me know if there's any other problems. Okay. Anything else that you want to add? Call me back. That's Chester, all the way from Doolittle, Missouri.
North of Doolittle.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. North of Doolittle, Missouri. Which is a big part of the country.
I'm calling Adolf back because he called during Rabbi's interview.
Well, I don't know if he has a computer or not. So, what happened to JL? Where's JL?
Where is he?
Good morning.
Good morning. I think I know who this is. Is this Adolf?
Yes, it is.
All right. What can I do for you this morning, sir?
Well, I just kind of wondering. I ran into a little argument with somebody yesterday about schooling.
Yeah.
And I said, in 1915, at the senior high level, they were teaching not algebra, but they were teaching Latin and Greek and history.
Uh-huh.
Now, at the college level, they have to teach them remedial English.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, kind of tells you where our education system.
We have a horrible education system, and we're number 37 in math. To the Chinese.
Yeah, we
we're
may be
number
37
one
in the meth too, by the way.
Yeah, well, there we go. And we're getting sent the meth and the math and the fentanyl by the Chinese. Not the math so much, but the fentanyl and the meth. We're getting sent that to us by the Chinese.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
Sure.
It's getting bad.
And it's via the cartels in Texas. There was a news story about Nancy Pelosi and the chubby guy used to work. He's a congressman. He's a chairman of a committee, Nader or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were chumming up with one of the cartel leaders at the time, and the rumor was that they were connected, that they were, the Democratic Party was taking money from the cartels. Well, now it seems like that's been true, because they're both partners in this situation at the border.
Back in the 40s, there was a terrific stand-up philosopher by the name of Will Rogers.
Yes.
And he mentioned the fact that he didn't have any writers for his shows.
Right.
Because he didn't need any writers, because all his material came from them idiots over in Washington.
Yeah, well, that's exactly where mine come from. So listen, what do you call a dancing calf?
No, I'm afraid to answer that one.
Fred Astaire.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's not bad.
On that note, hi to Joanne.
To invite you to another dinner.
Okay, well, we'll have to work on that.
And we thought of alligator. Tying on alligator.
We're going to go to Louisiana or what?
something different, but
Yeah.
we ran into a difficulty with that is the ability to cook it because we don't have any. All we have is a crock pot.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, get off my phone. We traded our jokes. Hi to your lovely bride, Joanne.
Yep.
And thanks for the call.
Hey, have a great week.
You too. Have a great weekend.
Yes.
All right. Another star in the Dave Weinbaum Show. Adolph from Dixon, I think. Yes. Okay. Let's see. What do we got? Have we done a commercial? Yes, we have done a commercial.
We did one commercial break, yep.
All right,
we don't have any new comments yet.
Okay, that's fine. Why don't we do the Sicilian moment? We have that in there, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Politicians perform exorcisms on nice people. Forget about it. You know, I used to be a nice person. I grew up thinking everybody was honest. The judges and the police, people that I knew in school, the teachers even, you know, and I come to find out that it just wasn't so. Somebody did an exorcism on them, and it didn't work. It didn't work. The devil remains in. And so you can't forget about that. You got to remember. You got to look for evidence, you know, like the cops do. You got to look for evidence. Are they real people or are they evil? And I think we got a lot of evil in this country. I think you might even agree with me. That's my experience, and I'm an old man now. You know, I'm an old man, and I don't want to make a fool out of myself like I did when I was a kid, believing all these people. You know, believing in everybody and all the institutions and stuff. You got to take it with a grain of pot stuff, for God's sakes. Don't forget about it. All right, here we are. I don't know. That was pretty good advice from the Sicilian, wasn't it?
You know, they always bring it with the Sicilian moments, though.
Yeah.
We always have good advice from that.
Yeah.
And I just want to make a point here. I brought this up before, but I found an article to kind of back this up. So when Trump was elected and Obama left after his second term, I mentioned how he stayed in Washington, D.C., and he was the first president to do so in a long time. Well, I actually looked it up because I couldn't remember how long. The one most recent before Obama was Woodrow Wilson after he left office in 1921. So we're talking about almost a 100-year difference.
Yeah.
Everybody else goes home after their terms are over, but Obama stayed. And I always thought, why? Yeah. I just thought that was very interesting. Well, now I think we're finding out the fruits of that.
I think we're finding out this is his third administration.
Exactly.
I mean, Joe Biden is not capable of drawing 10 people to a speech, basically. I mean, you know, they had to substitute half the audience in a small room recently for a CNN town hall. Okay? You're telling... Now, I also heard there was only like 44 million Democrats registered to vote in the last election. Now, I don't know if this is true. I'm just throwing it out there. You could say I was wrong. 44, 45 million. How did he get 81 or 85 million votes?
Don't make any sense, does it?
No, not at all.
And he can't draw flies, but yet he got more votes than Trump twice and more votes than Barack Obama twice?
Oh, my God.
By like 20 million?
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
No. Who buys that anyways? I mean, what are you drinking out there? Yeah, maybe you got votes, but these weren't legitimate votes. Okay? And what an insult to tell the black community that they're not smart enough to get a voter ID. They have to have an ID to go on a plane. They have to have an ID to take out a book at a library.
It was all propaganda, and we've got clips here from Tucker Carlson's show where they talked about the New York Times and them deleting information because they had records that they didn't want people to find out about.
All right, let's do that. Let's do 2 and 3 to start. Okay.
Last summer, as the COVID pandemic raged throughout the United States, people who still read the New York Times began to notice something very strange happening at the paper. Hundreds of articles that had appeared there going back nearly a decade suddenly vanished. They disappeared. There was no way to find them. Nothing like this had ever happened. The New York Times considers itself, very self-consciously, a living historical record. The paper maintains meticulous, searchable archives going back to before the Civil War, to 1851. Yet last August, a huge number of articles just disappeared. So what was in those articles? We know the answer because a handful of history-minded readers preserved them when they first appeared. Every one of them was a propaganda piece paid for by the Chinese Communist Party, all designed to look like news articles. You're seeing one of them on your screen right now. It reads, China Watch. Diaoyu Islands belong to China. Well, for money. Financial filings show the New York Times made more than $100,000 a month from this garbage. Those payments were not disclosed at the time. They were hidden from New York Times readers. They were only uncovered after the fact by the Washington Free Beacon. And the Times wasn't the only news organization that did this, that took money from the Chinese Communist Party. Since 2016, the Chinese Communist Party paid $20 million to outlets like the Los Angeles Times, the Chicago Tribune, and the Washington Post. Twitter, which now operates as a publisher, also received checks from the Chinese government totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, these arrangements, as we said, continued for years, and then last summer, they stopped abruptly. The New York Times tried to hide the evidence that any of it ever happened. But why? The New York Times won't say when we asked.
They were paid off by the Chinese. Paid off to lie, to use communist propaganda, the mainstream media. This is not just the newspapers, but the CNNs of the world, the MSNBC. And they were all saying the same words. And I think we have that in a couple others. Let's go to 4 and 5, please.
Under no circumstances were you allowed to entertain the possibility that coronavirus, COVID-19, could have come from a lab in Wuhan, China. That was a conspiracy theory. All the footage you're about to see is from early 2020.
The theory that the virus originated in a lab in Wuhan, China. But tonight, Dr. Anthony Fauci tells National Geographic that, quote, this virus could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated.
Both scientists and the U.S. intelligence community agree that this coronavirus was not man-made. That is not a possibility. It came from a natural source. It didn't come from a lab. A lot of people on the right love that phrase, escape from the lab.
Beginning in the winter of last year, at the very beginning of the outbreak of COVID, the Times confidently dismissed the lab leak hypothesis as a, quote, fringe theory. In other words, only lunatics believe it. The New York Times' reporter called the theory, quote, the kind of conspiracy once reserved for the tinfoil hatters. You're a nutcase if you think it's possible. Then a few weeks later, the paper published an op-ed by Peter Daszak, the virologist paid by Tony Fauci to experiment on bat coronaviruses. Talk about a conflict of interest. So Daszak, needless to say, denied that the virus could have come from any lab he was funding. He knew better. Instead, Daszak blamed the pandemic, and we're quoting now, on road building, deforestation, land clearing, and agricultural development. In other words, he blamed it on poor people. As 2020 continued, lies like this became less and less tenable. They were more obviously untrue.
So that's when Facebook dropped the egregious banning of people, well, like myself, who said that, just reported basically that there's questions about the election and the Wuhan lab as being the place of origin for the release of this vicious pandemic. All of a sudden, they stopped banning people for that. All right? They still promote the vaccines, but there's no mention of, the masks and what they can do. Nobody thinks the masks. I mean, I'm out here in the small town, and we have a big hit right now of whatever it is that's hitting us. I don't even know anymore. They say Delta, this, come on. I don't know what the hell it is. There's a case up in Canada where, and I think, didn't you send me this piece, Rick? There's a case up in Canada where they can't prove there was a COVID-19. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
They cannot prove it.
And in Canada, officially, in the court system, they cannot say They cannot prove that there was a COVID-19. The government cannot prove that.
And hundreds of doctors cannot isolate the virus itself.
Yeah.
So if you can't even isolate the virus, how can you say there is one?
Okay, so there's so much
stuff. Or create a vaccine to combat it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what we have here is manipulation, I think. We know we have manipulation. We just don't know if there is an actual good effect for the vaccine or if this stuff can kill you. And apparently, I have evidence that it can kill people, that it is not effective in getting rid of whatever it is they got out there, that they want to keep us perpetually kept into this situation. Oh, I think I know who this is. Okay, I'm sorry, I was carried away. I don't know why, but okay, where did the time go? All right, well, let's play her song because we're going to get right to it.
We are the champions, my friends.
Come on, Cheryl, sing it. We are the champions. We are the champions. Ladies and gentlemen, Washington Times online editor, star of TV and radio, a U.S. military veteran, speaker, best-selling author, and the media goddess to the Dave Weinbaum Show. Please welcome Cheryl Chumley. Hi, good morning, Cheryl.
You?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Great. Hey, out of all the stuff that comes from the left, I mean, evil stuff, how does Maxine Waters rank at the top?
Yeah, she put out a tweet that basically was calling for the CDC to issue a moratorium on tossing people out who don't pay their rent. And, you know, to me, that's just symbolic of all that the Democrat Party stands for. Anti-free market, anti-constitution, anti-law and order. And this is where the Democrat Party is now, that they just boldly proclaim their anti-Americanism, and nobody really calls them out for it anymore.
Yeah, it's just like we're like you wrote in your book, we're slipping into socialism, and nobody's really taking this seriously. It's slipping away.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. That's the problem. I mean, we do run around and we poke holes in the Democrats' arguments, right? Like, we criticize them, but we don't call it for what it is. And when you look at what Maxine Waters was advocating with that one tweet, it's basically communism. Yeah. And the Democrat Party has been infiltrated by this communist type thought. And in order to fight effectively, you have to name the enemy effectively.
I agree, absolutely. And you got the big one there, but there's so many of them. I mean, are you a little bit shocked by the Biden administration? And he was supposed to be this moderate kind of guy. Is he doing this, or is this the third term of Barack Obama?
Well, first off, no, I'm not shocked, because I was writing that Biden was a socialist before he was even elected, before he even made it to the White House. And I know that at the time everybody was saying, well, not everybody, but a lot of Republicans even were saying, it was Joe Biden, he's more of a moderate. I've worked with him in the Senate. He's moderate. Well, he's doddering, and he's ineffective, and he has mental issues. And so this makes him a danger to Americans in our free society, because the left is running roughshod over the White House right now. And it's not even the Democrat left. It's the far socialist, communist, collectivist left.
According to the CDC, Joe Biden, the Washington Post, CNN, all the social media, says that us vaccine avoiders are evil and must be dealt with. What does that say to you?
Well, again, let's call it what it is. What types of countries force citizens to take medical treatments, right? Is it a free society, or are they the authoritarianism type societies? And so we have to look at what's going on in this country. And I kind of reject the idea that the left is painting everybody who hasn't taken a vaccine as automatically anti-vaxxers, right? The vast majority of these people probably already have all the vaccines that are regular and normal to attend public schools.
Right.
But for this particular vaccine at this particular point in time, where it is still only being administered under emergency use authorization, there are questions out there. And it's disappointing to me, to put it lightly, that so many are painting those who haven't had their vaccines yet as anti-vaxxers, because that's just not true.
Now, have you heard that the FDA is going to approve the vaccines in August sometime?
I did hear that.
I just heard that today from my rabbi buddy.
It raises questions in my mind. How do they know? It's just,
I don't know.
Is the science pointing that way? Because the science so far has been all over the map.
I just got this tip minutes ago from Rabbi Moshe Rothchild calling me from Israel. So
interesting.
Maybe it came from God. I don't know.
I actually have heard before school starts. The
How about
FDA
that?
is supposed to approve it.
So there seems to be a real attack, though, on 2/3 of the blacks who will be shut out because they refuse to take the vaccines. Why do they refuse to take the vaccines?
You know, probably for the same reasons that everybody else refuses or is reluctant or is waiting to take the vaccine. I don't think that you can make I don't know. In my mind, it doesn't seem that reluctance to take vaccines breaks off by skin color. You see what I'm saying? I don't think blacks have any sort of different idea above and beyond those of whites or Asians or any other demographic who refuses right now to take the vaccine.
Well, I think there were times in history when they were experimented upon, as I recall, with vaccines, and I think that hasn't left them in terms of what their trust for the government is. So there's a break between this government, which is supported by the black community, and what they're about to do to them, which is basically put them back in chains. They're not going to be able to go anywhere without this, without the vaccines. I want to see how they're going to weasel out of that one.
Yeah, they're going to weasel out of it by ignoring it, basically, because that's what the left always does with uncomfortable truths. They just outright ignore it. So now in New York, as you were just referencing, that 2/3 of the blacks there, more than the 50% of whites, are going to be forced to, they're going to be left out of attending entertainment venues and dining places and things like that, simply because they won't prove that they've taken the vaccine.
This is, you pointed out that this is, getting the no jabbers, as you call them, it's a cultural shift from individualism to collectivism. How so?
Well, that's what the big theme here is that we need to really harp on. In this country, we have individual rights that come from God, not government. And as part of those individual rights, we have the right of informed consent to decide what we are going to take or not take as part and parcel of our medical and health treatments. And so when you take that away, when you start leading down the path that what you do medically impacts everybody else in society, so it's incumbent on you as the individual to cede your individual decisions to what's good for the society at large, the greater good. That's when we reach this tipping point in America where we lose our God-given rights and start thinking in terms of the collective, which once again is communism.
Yeah. So who was? Let's go back to revolutionary times, which you cite in your book often. And let's think, who was more under the thumb of the government at that time? Was it Washington and the people that lived in America at the time, the under the British thumb, or is it us right now under our own government?
That's an interesting question because, of course, at Founding Fathers' times, right, you had soldiers in the street from representing the crown, and you actually had citizens, patriotic American citizens, being gunned down by soldiers in the street. You had the Boston Massacre. Mm-hmm. And so right now, I guess in America, you can say, well, we don't have that. We don't have the Joe Biden White House sending out the soldiers to gun down people. But, the fact that we are losing our freedoms without a shot being fired, that's actually more of a concern because who do you fight in that scenario, right? It makes the enemy a lot harder to identify and battle.
I think you're absolutely right. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find you and talk about your books?
Oh, thank you. You can find me, of course, at the Washington Times or on Twitter at CK Chumley. And my latest book, which as of yesterday, I'm very blessed. It's still a #1 bestseller on Amazon in certain categories. And that is Socialists Don't Sleep, Christians Must Rise, or America Will Fall. And then I have a new book coming out in November, available now for pre-order on Amazon, Lockdown, The Socialist Plan to Steal Your Freedom.
And it's coming, it's all prophetic. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm rereading her book, the first book, and the one about the socialism, and it's happening, as you said before, about a year and a half ago when you wrote this. Her books are not only for the moment, but they're for the future, and everything she is saying is coming true. Sadly so, but it's happening. So also you're on Newsmax, is that correct?
Yes, I'll be on today. They switched up the hours now because Eric Bolling has a new show.
Yeah, I saw that. I looked for you and I see Eric Bolling. I said, what the hell's going on with that?
Well, the panel that I'm part of is going to be on at 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time instead of 4 to 5 p.m.
Oh, okay. Well, it's going to be tough for us to see. Anyways, all right, Cheryl. By the way, in California, they're canceling pigs. There should be no problem with that because with all the shutdowns, no one in L.A. has any money to bring home the bacon. So, thank you. Glad you laughed because otherwise he gives me crickets. Anyways, Cheryl, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks. All right, you can stop that. Don't embarrass me in front of my guests. What is that? That's wrong.
I just wanted Cheryl to be able to hear what they sound like.
No, he's a senior producer. He's a senior producer. He's like 25. What are you, like 30?
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And he thinks he can get away with stuff. So, anyways, I guess he can.
I do kind of have control over here, so
he's good at what he does. So, what am I going to do? All right. Hey, thank you, Cheryl, so much for being the media goddess to the Dave Weinbaum Show. At least you didn't miss the applause button like you did last week.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay. That was good.
Yeah.
Wow.
She may have been done with us, though, I think.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. That was a pretty good interview, though. I like. She's really.
That's
smart.
really good that her book is still bestseller right now. It's been out for a while.
It's out, and she's got the new one coming, and it's Lockdowns. And guess what? She wrote the book at the time when they were getting rid of all the lockdowns. Now they're talking about lockdowns again. That's how good she is. Okay,
it shows that she knows what she's talking about here.
She knows what she's talking about, and she's. I hate to admit it, someone's better than me, but she's better than I am. She's more prophetic than I am. Okay, and I think of myself as being pretty good at it because I do study it a lot. But she's really good. Okay, so I think we ought to take our. Wait a minute. We've got a 10:30 or 9:30. No, we've got a 10.
We got till 10 o'clock. Yep.
Okay, I think right now we ought to take a break. Why don't we do that?
And again, make sure and support our sponsors because they help keep this show on the air.
Absolutely, hit it.
With warmer temperatures right around the corner and allergies ramping up, now's the time to get those AC units serviced. At Hartley's, we pride ourselves in offering outstanding service with fast response times. With proper maintenance, you can make those hot days be a lot cooler and remove those pesky allergens that always seem to find their way into your home. Call us today so you can be living a much cooler and healthier life. Hartley's, community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Ken is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Ken's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate. Busy schedule? Let your locally owned Price Chopper help you save time with online shopping. It's easy. Sign up to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app in the App Store or Google Play. Create an account and browse through the categories and choose the items you need. When you place your order, your personal shopper will get all of the items you've selected, taking the same care you would and following your notes. We offer free curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Start your online order today and no online shopping fee for a limited time. Go to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app to get started. Price Chopper. Fresher savings every day.
Maybe it's for a kitchen you've always wanted. Maybe it's just to have a little extra room. Whatever the reason you're considering a new home loan, it's good to know that Town & Country Bank will guide you in the right direction. Our experienced local lenders are here to help you with a new home construction, remodeling projects, and fixed and adjustable rate home loans. You can even start the process online by clicking Online Mortgage Center at tcbanks.com. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, we're back, and I just saw a blip on the television. It says that fentanyl deaths have gone from 72,000 to about 93,000 in the USA. And we were just discussing what happens if they start putting that stuff in the medicine. They're already putting dangerous stuff that's inexplicable into these vaccines, which has a lot of stuff that can kill you. And nobody seems to care about it.
No, we have a question here from Butterbread MK asking, so now they want us a no-fly if you have not been vaccinated. Yeah, that's what's being discussed.
That's what they're talking about. No fly, no going to supermarkets. Some people are putting, no mask. You got to wear masks again. I'm going to get pressured here at McDonald's because they want, our people want our people to wear masks again. And I don't see people here reacting too well.
No.
But we're not getting. They don't have the same control over us as they do in other places. Look at Florida. There's a big battle being set up between Governor DeSantis and Joe Biden. He says, "I'm not doing this. You're out of your minds. I'm not going to let you do it to the people of Florida. I'm not going to have." He wants to mask 3-year-olds and everyone in school. He wants these kids suffocating, And I don't trust Biden. Do you trust Biden?
Not at all.
With anything? No. How do you trust a guy on pandemic control when the border is wide open and we've had 7,000 positive COVID cases since February? 1,500 of them last week released to the public with COVID. And how many people did they infect that aren't tracked? It's impossible. This is pure evil, what's happening here. Pure, utter evil. And they have to be called on it, and we have to take care of business here.
As part of one of our clips, they talk about how the detainees coming across the border, they're up 900% as far as cases with COVID and all that. It's not a good situation at all.
No, and who knows what kind of Delta or what. They're going to do this forever.
You have a person that commented on one of the groups I shared too about the border.
Yeah.
And he says they could control it if they wanted to. See the Cloward-Piven strategy for the reason they don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is? I don't.
That was turning. I believe they were from Columbia. They were professors, and that was how they're going to turn this country into a socialist communist country. And basically, it's in the same line as Saul Alinsky, who we have often on the show. We don't have him this week. Chris Cuomo. Well, no, don't go
there.
No.
Don't go there.
Chris Cuomo, the Cuomo sexual. I got that from Charlie Hurt, which is Cheryl Chumley's boss at the Washington Times.
Which is ironic that even Biden himself came out and told Cuomo that now with all this allegations starting to be proven here that he needs to resign.
Yeah.
Found that kind of interesting.
Well, the thing about this is there's not one Democrat that is supporting him. Not one. They can't find one in Congress or anywhere. And I'm wondering though how much he knows.
Well, they had a quote from Cuomo himself about a year or two ago out there saying that anybody that's found to have done like sexual harassment or sexual assault against others, that will not be stood for here in New York. Well,
yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Well, but that's typical. That's typical of Dems.
Just hypocrite much?
Yeah. Yes. It's amazing, and they do it from one side of their mouth. This woman, Cori Bush.
Yeah.
It was like, if I want to get as much security as I want to, $70,000 she's spending for private police. You call it security. I call it private police. I'll spend as much as I want to protect me. I've had threats. Now, let's go and defund the police.
Yeah.
For the rest of you. Mm-hmm. What are we, stupid?
And then they want to get on the McCluskeys for trying to defend their property, which luckily Parsons pardoned them, so they don't have to worry about that now.
Yeah, this is Black Lives Matter. This is absolutely idiotic, and companies are paying for it. Hi there. Welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Lee from Richland.
Hey, Lee, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, I was just, when you get the FDA looking out for your health, they're also the ones that approve to make sure that abortions are safe for the lady and make sure that the baby gets slaughtered. So I don't care for somebody looking out for my health that's making sure the baby gets slaughtered, or sometimes they mess up, and like they did before with the girl that was at the Pregnancy Resource Center where the twin was killed and she survived.
Yep.
But so get out of my life, FDA.
Yeah, and somebody said they're going to actually approve the vaccines. Who trusts anybody in government?
Anybody that's for abortion,
where's the
why
science?
should I trust them? Well, why should I trust? Why?
I don't know.
I have no confidence in it. Yet it's at the first of the list. If you're for abortion, in other words, you don't care about the most important. So whatever you say is nothing.
You see, and I think Trump got fooled by Fauci. I mean, I think he counteracted Fauci a couple times on the masks.
Yeah, I guess
he counteracted him on China, and I think he listens too much to a guy that has turned out to be so evil that he actually funded the Wuhan lab to make these kinds of weaponized viruses.
Would you call him a falsie?
Oh man, yeah.
We have a new name for him now. I like that.
Okay.
I gotta get out and walk some dogs here. So
go walk your dogs and say hi to your nice wife who's out there. She's messaging the show all the time, which is great.
Yeah, I can't even talk when Dave Weinbaum, all the dogs go outside, the cat goes outside, everything's outside because it's.
Well, she's a good
it's
fan, and she's concerned about her country. She has to have
Yeah,
somebody.
She
has to
was
have
in
some
the military.
flunky out there to take the dogs out, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, she was in the military. She worked with the chaplains on the submarine tender, so she a big supporter of this country. So
All right, I'm going to read some stuff from her and other people here right now. Let's see. We don't have anybody until 10, right? Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, this was one that she did earlier about Ben and Jerry's.
Let's see. Can we even trust Ben and Jerry's to not put? Well, I don't want to read that again. Okay, I read that already.
We don't have any new ones outside of that.
Better Bread had one.
Yeah.
I talked about that one a couple minutes ago.
Now they want to no fly.
Yeah, the fly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We got
Talked
that.
about-
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So if you want to, participate in the show without calling, but you could call 573-578-2700, or you can go to my Facebook show page, the Dave Weinbaum show page.
Or if you're listening on DaveWeinbaum.net, you can comment there. We're monitoring that as well.
Cool. So, no, let me know. Or else, Dave, let me know. You know, we were looking for a bit on this. We need to see your papers. We're looking for a funny bit. You know, and I don't know.
We'll come up with one at some point.
We'll come up with one. Yeah, I Googled it. Google's getting bad, by the way. If I want to
Don't
find
use
out
Google.
stuff about me, you go to DuckDuckGo. They're a lot more honest than Google. Google just dropped a lot of my stuff. You know, I'm kind of famous as the one-line philosopher. I've got a lot of stuff out there in 25, 26 different languages. Hadn't made any money on it, but it's kind of cool to know that I'm, out there published with all the greats of all time, even guys with single names. So, anyway, if you want to call the show, I'm open right now. Otherwise, we'll get back to the chore of getting you informed. All right, the Olympics. By the way, I'm going to play you a clip here very shortly, but in golf, Xander Schauffele, he won a gold medal in golf for the U.S. His father, who was his original coach, is an immigrant from Germany who tried out for the Olympics but was injured. He was going to be a decathlon competitor, so his son carried out his dream, which is kind of cool. And we have this gal from a female wrestler. They just added this a couple years ago, and she went there as an Olympian in 2016, and somehow they got her weight class was mislabeled or something, and she couldn't compete. So she had to hang out and help with the other girls, sort of help coach them and things like that. 4 years later, 5 years later, really, here's what happened. Why don't you hit it?
Of course I surprise myself. It's by the grace of God I'm able to even move my feet. Like, I just leave it in his hands, and I pray that all the practice, that the hell that my freaking coaches put me through pays off. And every single time it does, and I get better and better. And it's so weird that there is no cap to the limit that I can do. And I'm excited to see what I have next.
Last question for you. That American flag around your shoulders looks pretty good. How does that feel to represent your country like this?
It feels amazing. I love representing the U.S. I freaking love living there. I love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent USA!
This woman has a flag draped around her. Black woman. I watched her match, and, both girls were very strong. Both women, I should say. Wow. Real strong. And it was a tough match. It was like, I think she won 4-1 or something. And she, during the first part of this interview, she was crying. She was so happy. She was just so relieved that she finally got a chance to win the medal for who? The United States of America. Okay.
It's great to see that kind of American pride back on the podium again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, tell us about your sports show, and have you talked about this?
This happened right after my sports show last Monday, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it yet, but probably will this upcoming Monday.
Why don't you take that clip
Monday.
and use it?
I could, yeah.
All right.
I actually could use that.
Okay, you should put it in your paper. What's your paper again?
MidwestNews.us, and by that, I'd like to say we got a listener in Belgium listening to us right now.
Is it Tucker Carlson?
It's kwtf.site.
Okay.
Why would it be Tucker
No,
Carlson?
because he's in Hungary. That's not Belgium. But he could have moved. I don't know. He's broadcasting from Hungary and relating facts like in Hungary, they don't let people in their borders like the rest of Europe let all the a lot of Muslims from the Middle East, and they're having problems. They're having a lot of problems. But they won't take people just willy-nilly. If you're like a real refugee, then they might let you in. Like somebody who's like a political refugee or something, maybe they'll take you in. But they don't let anybody in. Like this country is letting them in left and right, and there's a reason for that. Yes, we're being invaded. So 35,000 of vaccinated are being infected with the disease. I don't know when this time frame is, just recently, probably the last 6 months or so when the vaccines were out there. I mean, that's it's startling. They're being infected. What the hell are the vaccines for? Now, they say this Delta thing, it's like getting a cold or something. It's no big deal. There's not enough time to base anything on that data. I'm not a scientist, but if I was a scientist, looking at the stats that these people had, like this doctor, seems like a nice guy. He's on Fox and that a lot. Mark Siegel, 1 in 10,000 might get it of the vaccinated. Well, that's been blown apart. And, but he's saying, oh, no. But the next step he says, well, now we're, you get the disease, but it's no big deal. Now, you know what? He's lost all credibility to me. How is he credible in the science world? Where is the science on this? What does the science say? They're all disagreeing with each other. Anyone out there? I'm confused. Pamela, MidwestNews.us is a great source of news, current videos, and information. So glad I found it. And, what was a joke? About, I guess
think it was something during Lee's talk, yeah.
Lee was a joke? Oh, no, she would never say that about Lee. I think it had to do with the ice cream, putting, bad ingredients in it. I wouldn't want to speculate about that. I don't think it happens. I've eaten that ice cream before. It was pretty good, actually. All right, here's something. You got 4 D.C. cops now have committed suicide since 1/6, the alleged resurrection. 4 cops have committed suicide. Why? And then there's Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by a cop, allegedly. We think his name is Michael Leroy Byrd, B-Y-R-D, and we think he was connected with the office of Nancy Pelosi. Yet there's been no official investigation, and he's been let off the hook by the Biden Justice Department, calling it a good shooting. Okay, well, Ashley Babbitt, who was shot, might have something to say about that, but she's dead. And there's no evidence. Why? Because they have burnt her body into ashes. They've cremated her with no permission from the family. That's what I have. We're going to talk with Jeff Zink about this, because he was an eyewitness, not to her death necessarily, but to other things that happened that show great amount of evidence that this was a complete, total setup by the Democrats. But we'd have to know, why would these D.C. cops have committed suicide? 4 of them since in 5 months. Why would they commit suicide? Because somebody called them a name? There's something going on here, and it doesn't smell right.
That sounds like some of the other suicides that were connected to the Clinton Foundation that just suddenly happened.
Are these guys getting the same treatment as Epstein?
Yeah, I think it's possible.
I wonder if Cuomo was worried, because he knows a lot about these people too, and I'm trying to figure out. If I was a Republican, I'd try to go question the guy, because not one Dem is being nice to him. You know what he's probably going to do? He's probably going to get pardoned for a lot of this stuff if he quits.
Right.
He's probably going to make a deal. That's what I think.
Or is he going to tell him, make me a deal or I'll release everything that I know about everything?
Speaking of New York City, you're going to need a vaccination passport to get into any business. And you know, I'm wondering, the Nuremberg Code, we're going to find this out from my next guest, who's going to be Elad Hakim, who is obligated by the Nuremberg Code. Rick, do you have any information on that?
I don't have the exact information on that. I do not.
We're going to ask him, because this was the code they took after World War II to prevent anyone in the world from having to go through these unwanted vaccines that were killers, or any treatment that they didn't want to have.
The only thing I've heard recently is that after this vaccine issue goes away, there's going to be Nuremberg trials for a decade to come.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Nuremberg trials? Why would it be in Nuremberg? Nuremberg. That's a city in Germany, by the way, in case you're from
well, the
Branson.
Nuremberg Code was violated, so there's going to be lots of lawsuits over that, and those held responsible for killing people.
I wonder. Hi there. Welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello?
My name's Gene from Par 1 Golf.
Oh, yeah. Well, you told me Thursday. You know what I'm doing right now, Gene?
I don't know.
You're on the Dave Weinbaum Show.
Oh.
And I'm at my office.
Does that mean I'm on the radio?
You are.
Well.
This is great. Now you got to be a sponsor. I'm going to sign your took us up. Okay?
Okay.
All right, listen, I'll call you back after. Call me back at about 1 o'clock or so, okay? If you want to just leave it there, go ahead and leave it there.
I was just letting you know I'm leaving your card at your house.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll give you a free. What's the name of your company?
Par 1 Golf.
Par 1 Golf. He's out of Salem, Missouri. I use him all the time. What's your phone number?
573-729-1580.
He's great at what he does, and that's your first free commercial. Now I want you to pay. Okay, we'll talk later. Bye.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's okay. I thought there was a little hesitation there.
You just never know, do you?
Well, he told me he'd have it Thursday, and it's pretty comparable. He put 4 tires on my golf cart. If I didn't have golf, I don't know what I'd do. I feel like I'm getting so much better at it, though. And I'm really liking it more. I'm learning about it. I'm learning how to control. In golf, like in anything, you have to control your emotions. You have to control your breathing. Doing a radio show is the same thing. If you're speaking in public, you have to have that relax. You got to learn how to relax, how to breathe. How to get the tension out of your hands when you're golfing. The tendency is to grab it like you're grabbing somebody by the throat who you hate. All right? But you gotta soften up. You gotta grab it like you'd grab a goose or something like that, a gooseneck. Okay?
Yep, and like I told you yesterday, I like the few times I've played golf, I like it, but I am just terrible.
Well, yeah, I've been terrible
but I haven't
all my
been
life.
able to practice either.
But
so.
I know I'm getting better. Okay, Betsy Black, holy cow, she's reading a book? Okay, my question is, why can't they tell you whether it's COVID-19, Delta variant, or something else when you test positive? The flu has been almost obsolete since COVID. Yeah, how does that happen? How does the flu disappear? And is this what the flu really is? Maybe a little bit of a different kind of flu, but I don't know. And normally there is a lot of people that die from flu, unfortunately. How is COVID pneumonia different than regular pneumonia? The diagnosis, treatment, and recovery seems to be the same, and is very serious either way. When and if you do recover, I would think you would have some natural immunity. Just curious. All good questions. You got a comment on that?
Yeah, I agree with Betsy Beck completely.
Yeah.
And I read an article the other day where the CDC had finally ruled that the PCR tests are invalid, and they're going to quit using them in December. That's what I heard. So
what's that?
The PCR test that shows
Yeah,
that you
it's
have
invalid.
COVID. It's invalid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
how long has it been invalid?
It's from the beginning.
Yeah.
And the doctor who created the machine said that it was invalid and not to use it against COVID.
Amazing.
Well, and I have a work colleague who just retired. His mom passed away a few months ago, and he told me she was sick with respiratory stuff and different things well before that. Well, they tested her for COVID. She was negative.
Yeah.
But they tested her just in case. Well, on her death certificate, they put pneumonia, but also COVID. And he goes, she did not have COVID.
There you
she
go.
was not tested positive.
There you go. The hospitals were getting paid, I believe it was like $20,000.
I think 30 or 40, actually.
30 or 40 grand to put down COVID-19 if you hit your head on a damn curb, if you fell over, if your wife accidentally pushed you, and I'm looking at my wife right now, and you hit your head on a curb, or you ate some bad meal that your wife cooked for you, they would put COVID down with no relation at all. Why they get money for it? They get big money. You say $30,000? All they got to do is change a couple words on a death certificate, and you're rich. All right, so I got Pamela here. Does anybody know what test is being used to diagnose COVID? I don't know, but she also has something else. She says gladly is out walking the dogs. LOL. And we know how that merge is working, don't we? All right. Epic Times reports a Justice Department official recently said that the Durham report could be made public. Really, the report will detail the findings of the investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. The Justice Department is going to allow the Durham report. You know what that means? It means it doesn't mean a damn thing. That's what it means. They're not going to allow Durham to release a report, just like they're going to release the real election results, right? They're not going to do that. Anyhow, let's do... we got another guest on in about 4 minutes. Let us do the... let's do the Seinfeld confession.
Tell me your sins, my son.
Well, I should mention that I'm Jewish.
Well, that's no sin.
Oh, good. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about Dr. Watley. I have a suspicion that he's converted to Judaism purely for the jokes.
And this offends you as a Jewish person?
No, it offends me as a comedian. And it'll interest you to know that he's also telling Catholic jokes.
Well...
and they're all jokes. I mean, the Pope and Raquel Welch in a lifeboat.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh.
Okay, that's Seinfeld. Pretty funny stuff. Again, probably a Biden supporter. But, you gotta, if you're going for funny... You got to go to the Jewish comics, all right? I mean, Tim Allen is not a Jewish comic, but I think we're going to play his thing, too.
See, Boyd, this is why I prefer to just shoot fish. Can we?
No, we're not going to shoot any fish. You're not helping. I'm trying to teach you about patience here.
Well, then get to it. I don't like being patient.
Nobody does. It's a learned skill. What do we call people that go willy-nilly through life just doing things because it feels good?
Democrats.
Pretty darn funny, I'd say. I don't know about you. So, anyhow, the AMA is calling for the sex identity to be removed from their birth certificates, from the child's birth certificates. Can you imagine that? We're not going to know whether a boy or a girl is born. How woke is that?
It's
I mean,
just
it's
stupid.
Incredible. Okay, and on July 31st, 2016, the official anniversary of the oath of the death of the FBI, This is the official anniversary of the death of the FBI agents who gave an oath to the FBI. That's when the Steele dossier came in. Okay? We know we're supposed to get something about that from Durham, but I don't know. I don't think so. Anyhow, that was called Crossfire Hurricane dossier, the Steele dossier. Louis Farrakhan, I'm listening to this. Louis Farrakhan was interviewed with Alex Jones, and I'm just getting into this. I don't know where I got this from. I think I got it from Gail Kaplan, and I want to really listen to this because here's Louis Farrakhan, hates whites, hates Jews, and he's being interviewed by a rather outspoken Alex Jones. He lives on the south side of Chicago, and I wouldn't mind interviewing the guy either, quite frankly. I've been in his paper, The Root, as a troublemaking Jew is what they called me. So, that could get to be kind of a interesting conversation. OAN has reported early that Trump won 410 to 128. This was in November. He won the Electoral College, 410 to 128. And that was way back, and it's been called a lie now so often. But I suspect something like that is probably true. I'm not sure who this is, but I think we're going to play him a song. Ladies and gentlemen, powerhouse South Florida lawyer, pundit, star of TV and radio, published in the Washington Examiner, Daily Caller, Federalist, and he is the Perry Mason to the Dave Weinbaum Show. Please welcome all the way from Boca Raton, Elad Hakim. Hi, Elad. How you doing?
Hey, doing all right, thanks. How are you guys?
Doing well, thank you. Biden just screwed 25 million rental owners in this country out of billions of dollars of overdue rent. And you wrote an article about it. This is totally unconstitutional. And there's punishment involved if they try to collect money owed to them. What's going on?
Well, I don't think I wrote an article about it, but I will if you'd like.
Oh, okay. Well, you mentioned it. Maybe it was somebody else that wrote the article, but I think you brought it to light.
Yeah, listen, I think that there are lawsuits that were just filed challenging this, and clearly he can't do it because the Supreme Court recently issued, ruled on this particular issue and indicated that they couldn't do it, that they couldn't do that to the landlords. And Biden, I think, himself admitted that he wasn't sure whether it would pass constitutional muster anyway. So yeah, listen, it's more of the same, more efforts to circumvent the Constitution and to exert power, and we'll see what happens. Right now we have landlords that haven't been able to collect rent for I don't know how long, and you have people who are getting free money from the government to sit and do nothing. You're being rewarded to do nothing. And they're going out and spending money in other areas and other places, whatever it is, and they're not paying rent. And I don't think it's fair to the landlords. So I'm happy that they went ahead and filed suit. And given the Supreme Court's recent decision, I would anticipate that they would prevail.
Now, we've had a little bit of controversy, actually a lot of controversy, between Biden and Texas Governor Abbott and your governor, Ron DeSantis. And Ron, both of them are very defiant of what Biden is doing with both the pandemic and with the southern border. So you probably know better what your governor is saying, DeSantis. What's his message for Biden, and do you agree with it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we don't have as much a problem with Texas, obviously, when it comes to the immigration. Texas is a disaster. I don't know if you had a chance to see the drone footage of people, but it's frightening. DeSantis is adamant when it comes to the vaccine, and I did write an article about the vaccines and whether states can mandate vaccinations, but DeSantis basically came out to Biden and said, look, you're not one to speak about COVID and my alleged irresponsibility in handling COVID when you are knowingly allowing illegal immigrants to flow through the southern border, many of whom are infected with COVID, and you're not mandating that they get tested, and you're not doing anything with them. You're letting them in and giving them housing. So before you start giving me any advice, you should basically close your mouth or be quiet and take care of your own job.
Well, and what is Congress doing? They're sitting there.
That was DeSantis' point, and I'll tell you what, vaccine or no vaccine, he's 100% right.
Your governor, yes, your governor.
Yeah,
is right.
He's 100% right.
Yeah. And
by the way, Ron DeSantis is not someone who discourages the vaccine. All he is he is a very pro-freedom governor.
Sure.
He wants to allow parents to decide whether or not, for example, their kids are masked in school and whether or not people are vaccinated. He wants parents and people to have that choice for themselves as opposed to being forced to do so.
And his record is exemplary in terms of his results compared to a place like that's comparable, California, which is horrible, and they're sinking right back into lockdowns, masks everywhere. I mean, we're talking about masks on 3-year-old children, masks in your house with your own children and your wife. I mean, I don't know how they're going to enforce this, but it seems to me like the science here. There is no science here. This is something else. This is a government dominating its people so they don't fight back. It's communism. Am I wrong?
Well, listen. It's a really, really hard choice, and I was recently speaking about this in my piece.
Yeah.
Look, there's a couple things at play here. One, pursuant to the Jacobson case, the Supreme Court ruled many years ago that certain types of vaccine mandates are permissible, and it revolves around. And let me just preface it by saying there's a difference between state and local mandates and federal mandates.
Right.
The analysis is different, but I'm talking from a state standpoint. States have police power to mandate certain vaccines. In Jacobson, they were allowed to do so. They were allowed to mandate a smallpox vaccine because it was approved, basically. They thought that it was the better alternative in order to protect the health and safety of society. So in that case, they said, okay, you could do that. We're cognizant of the right to liberty and the right to control your own body, but in such cases, that right to liberty kind of moves aside when it comes to public health and safety. They subsequently, in another case, held a similar thing where a child was going to go to school. The school had a mandatory vaccination policy. A mother objected to that, sued the school on 14th Amendment and due process grounds. And again, the Supreme Court, based on Jacobson, said, this is not a broad exercise of your power. This is a rule that applies to everybody, and based on the police power, you're allowed to do that. So on the flip end, this vaccine is not exactly the same. This vaccine is based on the emergency use. I suspect that it'll get FDA authorization soon enough. But for now, it's emergency use.
Now I'm hearing it for the third time. I heard this month they're going to actually approve it.
Yeah, I've kind of read different things, but we'll see. But here's the argument. The argument for those who are in favor of mandatory vaccinations, even of emergency use, they say, look, Section 564, I think it is, says that people are entitled to informed consent. In other words, Dave, if I want to come to you and I say, here's the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, you have a right to say, I want it or I don't want it. Right. So that's informed consent. So those who are in favor or against the vaccination say, hey, you can't force us to get the vaccine if we're also allowed to have informed consent. If we're allowed to refuse the vaccine, how can you force us to get it? That's it doesn't make sense. They don't work together. On the flip end, those who are in favor of it say, you still have a right to give informed consent. The rule, the law, 564, doesn't say that informed consent, it doesn't take away that power. It says that the person who gives you the vaccine, for example, the physician, has to give you informed consent. But secondarily, employers and other people don't have to. The law doesn't say anything about that. So they're trying to enforce mandates secondarily, not by virtue of the physicians or whoever
making us second
administers
and third class
but by
citizens.
Those other entities.
In other words, we can't go into restaurants,
places of worship, whatever it is.
Whatever.
And
right.
Whether or not that holds water, well, listen, there's lawsuits all over the country now because big companies, Google, Facebook, companies in New York, all over the place are mandating that their employees are vaccinated. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Did you ever hear of the Nuremberg codes?
I did, and one court, I'll tell you, rejected that argument. There was a court in Texas recently that the judge said, look, this is tested enough. It's not experimental in that nature. It's gone through rigorous testing. It just hasn't gone through the amount of time and the amount of people that normally goes through testing before FDA approves it. So that judge rejected Nuremberg arguments. Whether or not that holds water, listen, this is a kind of a new area, Dave.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see what the courts rule. But very interesting. And I posed this question to everybody. I said, listen, suppose that COVID was Ebola, God forbid, or some deadly disease. I just wonder whether some people who are voicing skepticism because of this emergency use would be voicing the same types of arguments. In other words, if you had a much more lethal virus, would there be such a stink? Or is it the fact that the virus is just not as deadly, thank God, for the majority of Americans?
Well, that's a good question, but I would also say that the science has been anything but consistent on this, in that there are different days. Every day that we're hearing something different. The vaccines work. The vaccines don't work. There's a danger of the vaccines eventually because they have a lot of bad stuff in it. They're not in Canada. They just now had a court case. Are you familiar with that? Where they actually a guy went in there defending himself and demanded that they give him the actual breakdown of the COVID disease. The country of Canada could not come up with the disease. Therefore, they have ruled against any pandemic occurring in Canada.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
No, you got to look at this. This is something else. Is that on my site, by the way? The Canada thing? Okay,
no.
Look at. You got to Google it because it's incredible. So in Canada, they cannot tell you what to do because it's not a recognized disease anymore because they couldn't prove it. They couldn't isolate it. So there's too much stuff that is not apparent here, and quite frankly, as we were just talking about this, I've talked to the rabbi, I've talked to today, talked to Cheryl Chumley, and I'm talking to you now. I'm telling you, as Jews, we ought to be a little bit more suspicious about what's going on. Now, let me bring you back to what the black community is doing. Blacks, 2/3 of them have not taken the vaccines. Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
I'll tell you why it is.
Some people say it's not available to them. Some people say they can't get to places where they're offered.
BS. Here's the real reason. They've had experiments on blacks where they have given them experimental drugs, experimental vaccines, and a lot of them died. They don't trust the government. And the mayor of Boston just came out, a very big Democrat, black Democrat, saying you're now not going to include 2/3 of the black population to go into restaurants, movie theaters. It's Jim Crow all over again because they don't want to get the vaccination. Do you see where this is going?
Listen, I hear you. I definitely recognize the potential risks associated with this stuff. I definitely do. Listen, it's a problem. It's going to take court intervention. And, you'd think that the Supreme Court might eventually get involved, but I don't think that it'll be under emergency use anymore. By the time it reaches the Supreme Court, they may be FDA approved. So yeah, listen, 100% right. I don't buy, I'm not one of the government conspiracy theory type when it comes to the vaccine. I don't buy that. But I know some people do, and some people distrust the government when it comes to this vaccine. So, look, there's no easy answers, Dave. I can't come to you and say, everyone should get it, because I definitely recognize the risks.
Well, here's another thing. Another thing. Let's say my wife and I had this in January. We had the disease. I was told by my doctor, and I was told by the CDC and whoever does this, I'm not sure if it was CDC, but I thought it was, that you're probably immune now for 20 years. Why would I go out and get a vaccination if I'm immune for 20 years?
You probably shouldn't.
Okay, but then again, I don't have an excuse to go into businesses now because I haven't been vaccinated. How is that constitutional?
I hear you, and that's a great point.
Okay.
That's a definitely legitimate point.
And what about religious? There was a gal that threatened to sue Loyola University over the fact that she refused to get the vaccine to go to college. Young girl. And she threatened to sue them, and they gave her a religious excuse not to take the vaccine.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I'm Jewish. I have a religious disbelief in taking this particular vaccine because of what happened to Jews in World War II, which got us the Nuremberg Code. We were experimented on in the camps. Think about that.
Yeah, I don't analogize the two, and I don't particularly like, I don't like the Nazi comparisons here, but as between this vaccination, I just don't see them as being analogous. I just don't, and I don't see this vaccine as being experimental in that sense. There are a lot of doctors that I know that I'm friends with that are very credible that support vaccination. So listen, there are absolutely no way to there's no right or wrong answer here, and that's why we need some guidance. I suspect that there's no way you're going to say a blanket, yes, you can mandate mandate these things for everybody. I'd just be shocked because of some of the constitutional issues that you properly raised. But we're going to need some guidance on it. I can tell you that some courts have allowed, as you see, these employers mandating, so long as they offer alternatives. For example, if you mandate vaccinations, if you offer an alternative to wear masks all day or to stay socially distanced, some courts have found that to be okay for employers to do that. So I don't know where it's going to go, but it's definitely a very, very delicate balance between personal autonomy and personal liberty and public safety.
And also,
but I hear you.
And also,
it's
not
science,
just that.
You're 100% right.
It's being used
it keeps changing.
It's being used
now
politically.
With this Delta variant, there was a study out that said, hey, people who are vaccinated can get sick and can spread it. But my counter to that is, hey, people who are vaccinated aren't getting as sick as often to those who are not vaccinated.
I'd love to see the proof of that, the actual proof of that.
Listen, we can go round and round, and what I'll tell you, you'll tell me something else.
There's not enough proof to prove anything on that.
I would agree with that.
There you go.
There's nothing definitive yet, but the vaccines have seemed to help. I am a pro. I've gotten the vaccine. My family's gotten the vaccine. But I definitely recognize the right to choose. I definitely recognize the right to choose and to decide for yourself, and the risks associated with beginning to mandate. I'll tell you, there was a case many, many years ago where a woman was institutionalized and she got pregnant, and she had issues, let's say, and the Supreme Court ruled. The state of Virginia, I think it was, passed a law that said that you could force sterilization for people who have certain types of problems, and I'm generalizing. And the Supreme Court came out and said, yes, you can. So she had a kid, and after she had the child, she was, without her knowledge, sterilized. And the Supreme Court basically said that we have enough. There was an interest allowing the interest. The purpose why it was allowed is to prevent children of a certain nature to be born. So I'll send you the case.
Send me the case, but
I'll send you a link to it so you can take a look at it. But that shows you the potential.
Is that actually
risks.
is that actually now a law that you can actually sterilize people?
Sure. I'm sure that has since been, but it took place like in the 1920s or something like that. I have to look and see.
That's
but I'll
Margaret
send you the
Sanger
link.
stuff.
It was a crazy case.
That's Margaret
But it shows
Sanger
you the
kind of
danger
stuff.
of government overreach.
This is
Can you
Planned
imagine?
Parenthood kind of stuff. You know that. You know about Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically she wanted to eliminate blacks. And that's why you see most of the Planned Parenthood facilities are in what are now mostly black neighborhoods. Okay? And they have a disproportionate amount of black babies aborted every year. Did you know that?
Listen, I'm really torn on this issue. I definitely recognize.
All right, I know you are.
It's really a difficult issue.
This is not an interview for babies here. We're adults, all right? We can talk about stuff like this.
Yeah, listen, 100%.
All right, good.
100%.
Now, other than that, we're going to save some for the next time I talk to you. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find you and hire you?
Find me at Elad Hakim. Just look me up. Otherwise, to hire me, and otherwise, Thoughtfully Conservative on Facebook and Thoughtful GOP on Twitter.
Now, my granddaughter Emma, she's 21 years old. She's in Israel. She got back yesterday. I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but she has a Jewish father, my son, and her mother is a Christian. So she went to Israel. She calls me from Israel. She's on a birthright tour, and she calls me Papa D. She says, "You know what, Papa D, I need a Jewish name." You know what I told her? I ran out of Jewish names after I named your brother Putz. Ladies and gentlemen, Elad Hakim, thank you so much. Once again, say hi to your lovely bride, and I'm going to be using her song to introduce my next guest in about 8 minutes. Okay?
Perfect. I'll let her know.
Please
and,
do. I
you
use
have
her
a
song
great
whenever I
weekend
can.
And a Shabbat Shalom.
I got to get her back on the show too. She's much more entertaining than you, if you really want to know the truth. But you're a great intellect on the law, and I do appreciate arguing with you.
It's my pleasure. I tell everyone how smart you are.
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah. Still haven't mentioned my name on OIN, but that's all right. I understand. All right. I watched you, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, Elad. Shabbat
Thanks.
Shalom, my friend.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now some schmucks are going to call me and say, "How dare you say that?"
Yeah,
okay.
So my question, if I could just bring up something here.
Yes.
So there's a lot of us that question this current administration. We question a lot that Congress is doing because we've seen their agenda.
Yeah.
So then why is it that we're so willing to trust the vaccines from the very same people that are pushing it when we don't trust them, but yet we'll trust the vaccine?
That's the
I have a really hard time with that one.
Correct. In my opinion, how can we trust them? They don't have the science behind it.
They don't have the science, and they don't have my personal backing as far as what I believe.
Pamela Tanner, I have zero trust in the CDC, NIH, and FDA, and you know what? I have to agree with you.
100%.
Yeah. Now, Rick, I know, trust them all, don't you, Rick?
If it's a 3-letter agency, I do not trust them.
Well, and here's the deal. So there's a lot of, medical experts that say, yeah, get the vaccine. I also know a lot of medical experts. One of them happened to be my wife, who's a 20-year RN, who says She's not comfortable taking the vaccine. She's not planning to take the vaccine. And there's a lot of people that she knows that are in the medical field that also don't trust the vaccine and are not planning to take it. What does that tell you?
They took the heads of the CDC, the NIH, and the FDA recently, just a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months, and said, how many of your staff are inoculated? It was about 40%. That's the staff of these people. And I'm wondering how many have actually been inoculated in the government.
Right.
After all, Obamacare, as somebody pointed out to me, I think it was Rick, or it might have been you, Obamacare was not forced upon the Congress of the United States nor the Obama administration.
The very same people who voted it on for the people, but they didn't want it.
Exactly. And it was shoved down our throats.
So if Congress doesn't want it for themselves, what does that tell me? It's garbage. So then why are they forcing it on us?
And I love Elad. He's a very bright guy. He's a very good lawyer, I can tell. But I think he needs to get better proof of what is really going on here, because this is our country going down the tubes. And there needs to be somewhat of a connection.
I'm sorry, but if I were Jewish, knowing what happened with the Holocaust and all that, I would be very hesitant about anything government related. I just would be. 100%.
That's systemic in our system, is that we're very trusting. I don't trust anybody hardly, except for my lovely bride.
For me, trust is it's earned.
Trust is earned, and it's continued earned. Yep. It's not just you did a bunch of good things here, and all of a sudden I'm going to trust you forever. I'm just a little bit paranoid. When you get divorced and you're fighting for kids and all that, and they want to measure you, sometimes you have to take mental tests. Mm-hmm. And I tested just on the border of being paranoid, below the border, but I question things.
I do too.
And I do it in my business. I do it with my staff. And I'm right. I've had a lot of years now, and not as many as JJ. He's got 253 years. I've only got like almost 73, and I've looked over some of the stuff that I asked about, and I've been right a lot of times. And this is the corporate leadership of McDonald's. I've been right. If they had listened to me, they would have saved an absolute fortune. Now, I wasn't right about everything, but I was right about really important stuff that I told CEOs one-on-one.
And we've got Pamela Tanner with a comment here. We back Trump, promises made, promises kept. And that, very, very true. There was not one thing that he said that he was going to do that he did not get accomplished, which with everybody against him.
Yeah.
And he still got it done. And
there were good things, and it's proven. The wall. The immigration, we didn't have a problem at the end of the Trump in 2020. They had it all under control.
And now look at it.
And this idiot comes in. He's on TV right now. This idiot is out there ruining it. Why? Because, it was Trump's thing, and we had to ruin it. And they were all under Trump. They were all talking about these kids that were in these cages. Well, now they're out there selling them, sex trafficking these kids. They're sending out people all over the country. We don't even know where they're at, that we know, though, are positive for the pandemic. And why are they still not? Why isn't this guy impeached for that? Why doesn't his own party impeach him?
I think we know why.
Well, of course. It's politics. And if we're going to play politics with all this stuff, we need to fight back. It's just not going to happen.
100%.
It's not. We can't pray for God to make a miracle here. We can pray for it, but we got to take care of this.
There's action on our part that has to be taken.
We got to take care of this. I don't know what to do exactly, but we need to talk about it.
One thing we can definitely do is keep praying for our country, just like we should be doing every day.
We should pray for our country, and we should pray for our own strength to be able to fight for it, because this is something that's worth fighting for, and we're losing it. We are losing it. Cheryl Chumley is exactly right. It's going down, and it's going down fast. And if this last election wasn't a wake-up call, because we're just about to find out how unjust this election is in about 2 minutes when Jeff Zink calls me all the way from Arizona. We're going to talk about the AZ audit and we're gonna talk about January the 6th. He'll be on shortly.
Yeah, since we've been talking about Trump here for a minute, if you're okay with it, we could also play Trump Dog here. That's kind of fun.
Well, try it because he's on the phone right now, I bet. Right?
That's somebody else, actually.
Oh, hi there. Welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. You've got about a minute till my next caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, that's why I just called real quickly. This is Pastor Pat.
Hi, Pastor
I wanted
Pat.
to announce that Mike Lindell has a show that's going to be on August 10th, 11th, and 12th. And it's on frankspeech.com, and they are going to prove, it's a 3-day thing, and they're going to prove about the fraudulent election.
Okay.
And you can watch it, and they want people to call in on it, and they're going to show it. They said there is no question whatsoever. There'll be 6 states represented. And on the 13th, it will go to the Supreme Court, and they think that it cannot be questioned. So this is a real important thing to watch and pray about.
Thank you so much, Pastor Pat. Do you realize your boy did not recognize your phone number?
Oh, really?
No, I didn't look over there and look at the phone that close.
Okay, I got to say goodbye. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Hey, goodbye.
Bye-bye. All right, the official pastor to the Dave Weinbaum Show. Pastor Pat. Now, there it is right there. Oh, my God. That's timing right there. I don't know who this is exactly, but you know what? I think we're going to play a song for you right now, and then we'll get right into the meat of talking to this gentleman.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, New York to L.A., well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
That was Amy Cooper Hakim, Dr. Amy Cooper Hakim, and the wife, the better half of the Elad Hakim and his wife. Okay. Anyways, this gentleman is running for senator from Arizona. He's an expert on forensic audits and an eyewitness to what happened on January 6th of this year. He's also a trained kinesiologist. I just threw that in there because I wanted to see if I could say it right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, all the way from Arizona, Jeff Zink. Now, I don't know if you can top what happened on the last show, but we're going to work on it. All right. What is any new news on January the 6th since our last chat?
January 6th, what we've got going on right now, my son's attorney and everything that's taking place has been delayed. They still can't produce any discovery evidence in regards to having him inside the Capitol. So, it makes it really tough when they've charged him with 2 felonies, being inside the Capitol being the harshest felony, yet they can't come up with any evidence to show that he was inside because he never did go inside.
Oh.
The other is trespass or stopping a congressional proceeding, which we've now found out that it wasn't the riot, so-called riot, that stopped the proceeding. It was the DNC and RNC pipe bombs that they found. That's what shut down that proceeding.
Hold on. The DNC and the RNC, did you say pipe bombs?
Correct.
Where's this from? Who made those?
This is actually kind of old news. This has been brought out early on, about a month and a half ago, where they have pictures of a gentleman that they tried to track, and they have him where he dropped off pipe bombs at both the RNC and DNC that failed to go off.
Okay.
Luckily, and so that's something that I think is important, and especially
but this was not at the Capitol. These were at the offices of the RNC and the DNC. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So
that's why they stopped the proceedings?
Yes, it was because they didn't know where the other pipe bombs were, so they wanted to start getting people and making sure that they didn't have any other pipe bombs other places. So, that just little things like this that just doesn't make sense. The fact that I've got, and one of the things that's really interesting is the man that was kicking in the windows that my son and myself videoed, and I handed my card to the sergeant. He has finally been arrested. We put so much pressure. He's finally been arrested, and he wears a ankle monitor in California now. So I can't say that you're guilty until proven Democrat, because they finally have done something. But I still say that it's very true that if you have any type of Democratic ties, then you're not going to go through the judicial system. We have the Summer of Love. How many people have been arrested? We've got a few, but we had city after city burned to the ground, and nothing done. And then we had this so-called insurrection, where how in the world do you have an insurrection when there was no weapons from anybody that was confiscated from them?
As testified to by the FBI to Congress.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this: the 4 Capitol cops, it's been said, committed suicide since January the 6th.
Yeah.
And Ashley Babbitt's remains were cremated within 2 days of her murder. I'm sure not with the consent of the family. What happened?
Well, actually, when Trump came to Phoenix, Ashley Babbitt's mom was there. I had pictures with her. I was able to sit down and talk with her, and she stated that was not anything that she had approved, or they did that on their own without
the
family consent.
Who's they?
Ashley Babbitt's mom.
Yeah, I know. Who said that? Who took their right away from them to bury Ashley Babbitt or to cremate her? Who did that?
Well, that's going to be the coroner and with the Capitol Police. They're the ones that were in charge of handling her body at the time.
Where is that under their rights to take a U.S. Air Force veteran who is killed when she's unarmed? Where is it their right to determine how she'll be buried and or cremated?
Well, it's not. It is the family's rights. She is a veteran and should have the honors and have the family to talk to them and have her either buried with a flag draped over her casket, and to show the honor of somebody who literally put their life in harm's way, because freedom's not free. And people need to start looking at this. We're in a fight, we're in a war. It's a different type of war. And if we don't start waking up with men and women that are Jewish, Christian, that have a moral compass, so that we can do what is right before God, then we're going to lose this country. And that's one of the things that aggravates me. I have, and here's a shot across the bow with my Republican Party. They've been raising money on election integrity here, and not one single dime has been given to the audit. So
Really?
They raise money, but they say they support it, but then when it comes to actually donating the money for the cause, they don't do it here.
Okay, we're going to get into the audit a little bit. I want to find out more about Ashley Babbitt's mom.
Okay.
And do they know who killed her?
Well, they know that it was an FBI agent. They also know that I don't have the guy's name offhand, but he had been a troublesome soul. He left his gun in the bathroom.
Was he an FBI agent, or was he's a lieutenant somewhere?
Yes.
I've got his name as Mike Lloyd Byrd, B-Y-R-D. Is that correct? And it came from, allegedly, Ashley Babbitt's lawyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they finally turned it over.
He's an FBI agent? That I never heard. I heard he was a Capitol cop.
Well, he was a Capitol cop. I'm sorry. I was thinking of another issue that,
Okay.
But the Capitol Police, he had left his gun in the bathroom. Somebody had to get it and take it to him. I mean,
Right.
There's been several things that he was very suspect. And my deal is that I'm all for funding the police. This lady that says that I'm going to have security, but we still need to have defunding the police. It's like, forget everybody else. I'm going to be protected, but you can't.
Cori Bush, we have talked about her on this show.
Yeah.
Clip to come on next week. Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the rules for thee and not for me.
Yeah. All right. Now that brings us back to where we're at on the Arizona audit.
Well, one of the things is that Cyber Ninja is working hard on the report. They are putting things together, and once that comes out, which should be in about 2 weeks, what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Then what we'll be able to do is all this information will be presented to the Senate. One of the things that was so exciting this week, and I was so fired up, Sonny Borelli, Senator Borelli, he gave information to Mark Bonovich, which is the Attorney General here in Arizona, and has asked to have criminal charges on the Board of Supervisors and Katie Hobbs.
I saw him on a talk show yesterday. He's a state congressman in New York, isn't he?
He's a state congressman here in Arizona.
In Arizona, okay.
Right. And he basically has stated that if there are criminal charges that need to be filed, then he's going to make sure. And when the Board of Supervisors refused to comply to turn over the Splunk logs, the passwords for the Dominion machines, and the deleted logs of what happened, since they will not do that and they basically have thumbed their nose, then what he did was he went to Mark Bonovich and just said, we need criminal charges now filed against them.
And so, Bonovich is the Attorney General of Arizona, right? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll see what happens. We're still waiting for Durham. It's not likely to happen, in my opinion, but they tell me it's going to happen.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
No, exactly. So there's this guy named, Blake Masters.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's running. Is he running against you?
No.
No. Okay. Anyways, he's a forensic. He says if you're not for forensic audit, then you're for election cheating. He might have said it. Somebody else might have said it. I'm not sure, but basically that's what he's saying.
Well, one of the things is that I know for myself, and I do want to correct you. I'm not running for Senate. I'm actually running for Congress here in CD7 against Ruben Gallego. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the word out to my area and help them understand. We have 64% of the constituents here in CD7 are Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
We have 40% below the poverty line. And the reason why is with the COVID and sequestering everybody and people losing their jobs, and now they're making more money sitting at home not doing anything than to go out and to work. It is creating a lot more poverty here. The problem that we're seeing right now is that the top 1% have never been richer than they are right now. And we have 140 million people that have now fallen below the poverty line that didn't over a year ago. So the Democratic America Last agenda is actually being very effective. It's destroying our country faster than what we're going to be able to repair it. And that's why it's so important that if we don't start finding congressional and Senate people that have a moral fiber, myself is I'm an ordained minister. I want to take the Bible and the Constitution to the congressional floor because they haven't read it and they don't understand what it is to represent the American people. So we need to sit down and actually start looking at what's going on and why our country is failing at the rate that it is with open borders. They're always saying that you must wear a mask, you must have the jab, you must have all of these other things that are taking place, yet there's no accountability at the border, and we have thousands of people that are coming across right now that aren't tested, aren't checked. We have no idea, and they're shipped everywhere in the country, and we wonder why people are so suspect about what our federal government's doing. This is ridiculous.
Well, let me ask you another question. The Justice Department has opened an investigation of the Phoenix police. What the heck is that about?
Actually, I don't have any information on that. Right. I have been so focused on the audit and what has been taking place that I knew a little bit about what was going on, but not enough to actually speak about it. I will say this, though. On Wednesday, I was able to host Seth Keshel. And I don't know if you know who Seth Keshel is, but he is the captain that it was in data mining and basically military intelligence, and is able to manipulate and look at data and see what's going on. And he is the one that has put together all of the places across the United States where fraud happened, where it's highly suspect that fraud had happened, and where no place that was green. So you have green where no fraud took place. You have yellow that it's suspect that it happened, and then you have red.
Okay, so what's the percentage?
And Maricopa County are red.
What's the percentage?
That what?
What's the percentage of cheating that you found?
What he found was that Maricopa County and Pima was extremely high. That the again, Biden only won by 10,457 votes, and then just the list of things that took place. We could and the one that's the most prevalent is the mail-in ballots. We had 74,243 mail-in ballots where there's no clear record of them ever being sent out.
Yeah, see, that's incredible, and it's just and to this point you have no explanation for that, do you?
No,
that's incredible. All right, listen, I gotta.
What we're looking at.
I got to get going here. And listen, where other than this show, where can people find you and contribute?
Okay, you can go to www.jeffzink, Z as in zebra, INK.
Now, did you hear about the donkey minister who presided over his own daughter's wedding?
No.
He pronounced, "And now you can kiss my ass." Good. You can use that. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you're doing, and we'll get you back on when we have the report in, and we can see the other audits are still going on, aren't they? But they're not going to let you get away with this without a big fight, are they?
Well, I mean, for the most part, why would you stop fighting when everything has been going your way?
You mean you're talking about you guys or the other guys?
All of the Democrats right now, they don't have any consequences that have been taking place. They've just been putting everything on the side.
Right. So they're going to keep fighting against you, and you're fighting an uphill battle. I realize that. So we've got to tell the truth here on this show, and we're going to do it. Okay. So you'll be back. All right.
Absolutely.
As your buddy Arnold Schwarzenegger would say. All right. Thanks so much, Jeff. You have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay. More interesting stuff from Jeff. Maybe not as interesting as last time, but it was interesting. All right. And he's running for Congress. So I thought he was running for Senate. I thought he emphatically told me that. But all right, well,
no,
okay.
He didn't.
Okay,
say that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have found where I made a mistake.
You got something wrong.
Yeah, I got something wrong.
Yeah.
Aren't you proud of yourselves, man? Go ahead. Okay, have a little laugh on me.
Well, had you not found it first.
Well, the important thing is I got this information out to the public, and there was more information today about Ashley Babbitt.
And Jeff commented here, you can go to jeffzink4congress.com. With the number 4, that's how you check out his website.
Yeah, Jeff Zink 4, which is the number 4, Congress.com. Did you mention that it was the number?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Because then I would have got you back for your mistake.
Nope, I mentioned it.
Okay.
And I spelled his name right, too. So.
All right, I got thank you. You called them zincs, as in the stuff you eat to get away from. What is the best thing? What is the drug we take to avoid the COVID, honey?
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin was supposed to be pretty good. I don't know. What do you think? Yes? No? Maybe?
I take it.
You take it?
There's also Hannity was talking about Regeneron this week on his show, which is something my mom's trying to find out about.
All right. Well, let me just mention this. I can take calls now till the end of the show because I don't have anything else scheduled other than maybe we do Weinbaum music. Is there anything else I have to do?
We've got a few clips and stuff, but that's about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Play a couple clips from the 5 fentanyl. What the hell? Oh, that's from a different one.
No, I think that was last week.
You got the what? The Brit. British clip. Yeah. You want to play the Brit?
Yeah, we'll play the Brit.
Play the Brit. Yeah, that's always fun.
America, it's an amazing place. And do you know what I've come to realize, right? Americans, you basically do everything that we do, but you do it bigger and you do it better. Like, we have stupid people here. But your stupid people are world class. And that is not me saying, oh, all Americans are stupid. No, America also has the smartest people on the planet. What I'm saying is that when America does stupid, you do stupid. Like, our village idiot is in a park shouting at clouds. Yours is president.
That's never going to get old. That is never going to get old, and it's so true.
I can hear it a million times. I laugh every time.
I can't find any rhyme or reason why Biden is doing this other than to cover up all the crimes that he's committed with his son, Hunter. Mm-hmm. He's in China's pocket. He's in Russia's pocket. He's he's real tough with that Vladimir Putin. And he's giving him pipelines and closing ours down. How does this make sense to anybody? How can you still support Biden after what he's done to this country? You know what? I'm going to save these other clips. I don't think I want to run clips. I just want to talk. I'm a talk show host, right? And we talk. All right. So
we have one more comment here from Jeff Zink and all that too that he just left.
Jeff Zink, helping take back our country. If you want to know more about remembering 9/11, a tribute to our first responders, it will take place on September 11th, 2021 at Corona Ranch in Laveen, Arizona. Please go to www.actioncd7.com. That's www.actioncd7.com. Thank you again, Dave, for having me on your show. Well, you're very welcome. Okay, we learned a lot from Jeff Zink in both interviews, I think. So, what I'm going to do now is let's rehash some of the stuff that's going on. Reese Witherspoon and Renano, is it Renano or Renana? I don't know. They have both become billionaires. One's an actress and one is a music star. Both become actress billionaires. With Reese Witherspoon has this company that represents women, and they're producing women's stories about women. And Rihanna is a black from Barbados. How about that? She's out of poverty. She comes to America, and now she's worth about $1.7 billion. Who says you can't win in America? That's why everybody's lined up to come here, for goodness sakes, and for good reason. Dr. David Samadi. Oh, by the way, I got to mention this. I got into a little discussion yesterday with Dr. Scott. I think it's Randall Scott, who happens to be a close friend of President Trump's. And he had these films of these basketball players. They were all black. And I noticed that they weren't playing any defense. And he kept, and I says, why is there no defense? And finally he had to say, well, these are college players. They're going back to college. They don't want to injure each other. I says, oh, I get it. And so then I said, I want you on my show. He says, can you do it? He says, anytime. So this is the guy that was in charge, I think, of the black pastors in the Trump administration. And he's talking to Donald Trump every other day now, and he's on Twitter. So that should be interesting. I'll try to get him next week if I can. We'll see. You know, sometimes these things happen. I was supposed to be notified by a person at OAN, and that didn't happen. But, you know, you live and learn, and you just keep on going. You keep on going, and you're going to do okay. You're not going to win everything, all right? It wasn't meant to be easy. God makes it hard for a reason, all right? He doesn't want quitters. I've quit a thing or two, and I've always regretted what I quit. Always regretted it. And I don't quit anymore. And I try not to. And you can quit just by not giving the best effort sometimes.
We don't really have an option to quit in this case, though, when it comes to fighting for our country.
Not if you want to. Not if you don't want to live like Venezuela does, because you know, look at Jeff Zink's example of what's happening in Maricopa County.
Well, And the Dems are not for all illegal immigrants, because if they were, then they'd be telling the people of Cuba what they're going through coming over. Well, but they know what side they'll vote for, so you notice they're not helping them out.
They're interested in being the super class of a communist country, like the CCP. Okay, this is their role model now. And I'm sure there's a lot. China bought our apparently they have bought and sold our mainstream media. They are running this country via the media right now. So we not this media right here. You're hearing the absolute truth as I know it, as an American who's loyal to this country. All right, and I will criticize, I will argue with fellow conservatives even to get to the right answer. Anyone. So that's why I think this show is for you. They were coming towards the end now, and Lisa, you got something to say real quick?
I need more time.
On the show, or? I need more time. Okay, well, why don't you just barge in like you do?
Okay.
Huh?
I'll share.
You need a new microphone. All right.
I think I'm done.
I got to go. You got no time.
I think I'm done.
Cut her